future.
We're not asking for permission anymore. We are who we are. Beautifully African.
And now to some art news. Ghana's Michael Tete, who is the country's only certified professional glassblower, says that he's on a mission to reduce the country's glass waste and wasteful imports. Tete built his own glassblowing studio in 2012 from scrap metal and clay bricks, and today produces dozens of eclectic pieces each week from recycled TV screens, window panes, and soda bottles. Here is the story from Reuters. In the burned and blistered hands of Michael Tete, molten glass is transformed into elaborate works of art. He's Ghana's only certified professional glassblower and is on a mission to use his talents to benefit the environment.
It's like life, it is expand. Life also expand. It's like a journey. Yes, you go from one after the other.
And for Tete, that journey starts here, among piles of discarded bottles. His glasswork is created only from recycled materials collected from across the capital, Accra.
But this one is very sticky and it's good for glass blowing.
Ghana imports around $300 million in glass and ceramic products each year, according to the Observatory for Economic Complexity. Around 80% comes from China. Tete says the majority of Ghana's glass waste ends up in the landfill or scattered in the streets.
We don't have a collection process, and we don't want the broken glasses to be flowing around like that, or they will dump it in the landfill. And if we are using recycle, we can get money. Yes, as we want to recycle, recycle is cheap.
The 44-year-old hails from Odumase Krobo, one of the epicenters of Ghana's traditional glass bead culture. He wants to build on that heritage and envisions a Ghana free from foreign glass. Tete has trained and hired several assistants. He hopes they will one day run their own workshops. He also wants to expand his own premises, giving a work opportunity and creative outlet to more people in his community.
We will not go to any country like China to maybe buy any material from that we want to use in Ghana. I want to make Ghana beautiful.
Considered one of the busiest cities in the world, New York City is a global cultural hub with a rich food culture that reflects its diverse and vibrant immigrant population. Inside some of its iconic buildings are restaurants that serve cuisines from around the world. On our recent trip to the Big Apple, we visited Teranga, a restaurant co-founded by world-famous Senegalese chef Pierre Cham. With 2 locations in the city right now, the restaurant has a menu influenced by West African dishes from countries like Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, and many others. We caught up with 2 of the 3 co-founding partners, Folasade Adioso and Noah Levine, who talked to us about the inspiration behind the menu, aesthetic, and vibe at Teranga.
Our menu is very unique because it features a few different recipes throughout West Africa. We have jollof rice, which is a West African staple. We also have kelewele, that is a staple from Ghana. And we also have a few staples from Senegal, like our ndambe and our yassa. And through one bowl, you can travel to each country, which is very unique and very special to us.
Noah Levine says that it was Chef Cham's vision to share his West African culture through food, with some of the ingredients used in the cooking sourced directly from West African farmers.
Our partner and executive chef, Pierre Cham, it's really a reflection of his vision to share traditional African recipes, but also we consciously source a number of ingredients from West Africa, including our fonio, our baobab, our moringa, our red palm oil, our bisap, really to pay tribute to smallholder farmers that are the backbone of so many agricultural communities across West Africa.
Levine is a former professional basketball player who has lived in Senegal and traveled around the continent. He says that part of the mission at Teranga is to tell the story of West Africa's rich culinary tradition and its influence on global food culture.
I think at the heart of our menu is storytelling. We really want to tell our customers the story of Africa's impact on food traditions around the world. I think a lot of people are familiar with African food, whether they know it or not. So, whether it's okra or black-eyed peas or rice, things that all originate in West Africa have traveled across the world at this point. And you'll find throughout our dishes that story is being told there. I think it's incredibly important as we elevate our collective consciousness around different cultures around the world. Food is a really unifying platform for all of us.
And that story is also reflected in the vibrant and colorful aesthetics of the restaurant's decor.
Our design element as well, we took a lot of the inspiration. We went to Senegal a few times to bring back a few things, and we really wanted to just showcase the beautiful aesthetics, either if it's through food or in the design space of West Africa. Like even our stall here, I got the inspiration from Burkina Faso. So we try to incorporate as much of those elements as possible, either if it's through the food or design.
The world of non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, is getting a boost from companies and celebrities who are making digital products. But the nascent technology comes with risks, as Tina Tree reports.
What do a basketball legend, a socialite, and a fast food chain have in common? They're all advocates for non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, those one-of-a-kind digital assets whose authenticity is certified by decentralized, peer-to-peer networks known as blockchains.
We're definitely in a very crazy bull market right now. The space is exploding.
NFTs are attracting big names in the worlds of sports, entertainment, music, and fashion. But is it all just a marketing ploy? NFT projects typically involve releases or drops of limited edition digital art or virtual goods. For companies like Clinique, it's a way to engage and attract new customers. Topps, the longtime publisher of baseball trading cards, used the Wax blockchain to release more than 70,000 packs of their cards as NFTs.
We thought it would take about 30 days to sell them, and they sold out in about 24 hours.
Some say their surge in popularity is due partly to the technology becoming easier for everyone to use. At Metaplex Studios, an online marketplace, artists can set up free storefronts to sell their NFTs.
There is a learning curve, yes, but even compared to a month ago, there are now companies that are looking to improve the user experience, improve the knowledge that is required to onboard.
But welcoming more NFT creators can also attract bad actors. OpenSea, another online marketplace, recently discovered that over 80% of the NFTs listed on its site were plagiarized works, fakes, or spam.
It's important to do your research, but what does that entail for a normal user who has a daytime job, friends, and hobbies?
Analytics and research sites like Elena Garitas' Defy Trends are helping consumers navigate the world of NFTs. Perhaps a greater need going forward, as celebrity partnerships leave many with stars in their eyes. Tina Trin, VOA News.
And with that, we come to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. My name is Jackson Funganyi. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voanews.com. We are also on all social media platforms. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where you can watch our videos. Remember to like, share, and of course, subscribe. Until next time, goodbye, everyone.
Right, my name is Terietta Precious. I am an event planner, a cake specialist. I'm also a natural juice specialist as well. I deal with fruits and I try to make people live healthy lives. And business is just pretty starting up, like coming back, resuscitating after a very long break of like 5 years. And that happened because I got trafficked, and the connection came through my friend. So how it all started, so after school, I started baking even before I left secondary school. And so when admission was taking so long, and I was really eager to go back to school and all, so I started doing events, started serving at parties, following vendors to events, and I started liking the job because I'm kind of like talented in the arts. So everything event looked like fun and work for me. So I decided to build a career in that, irrespective of going back to school. And then I started training up. I naturally just have recipes in my head for cakes, and maybe when I wake up, I'll go write out what I saw either in my dream or what I thought about, and when I try it out, it always comes out nice. So my mom encouraged me to build up that career too, and that it was going to be a fruitful one. So at that point, there's this friend of mine that we kind of like, she's a bit older than I am, but we kind of like grew up together. She was always there for me because I had a child immediately after school. She was always there for me, always helping me out. So she said, since school wasn't working, then we should just venture into business. And looking at it that I was the first of 5 kids and I already had a child, school might be a little bit tight at that moment because my parents were really well to do, my mom actually, and because my parents are separated. So we used to make ice blocks and ice cubes together. We make ice blocks, we make ice. She was the one working there. So, but after her normal daily job, we now go in the evenings. So we had to take permission from her boss first. So we go in the evenings, we make ice blocks and ice cubes. We take to bars, restaurants, clubs, and most weekends when we get jobs as well, we get to supply ice blocks for events. So it started making me meet people. I started coming out more often, and people started liking my kind of person, like you're very intelligent. So sometimes my friend would just say, come, let's go to so place. She might not say anything, but we are certain that we're not living there without a new job to do almost every weekend. So it made me start becoming very outgoing, and I did meet lots of people. So I knew that I was only going to do that for a short while. And then on one of the occasions, we had a very long discussion, and she was like, she's just going to be here for the meantime. She was really building that up for me to like find a basis for me to start my event management career. And I took it that she was doing me a really good favor. So not too long from then, she introduced me to a friend who brought a job, and they wanted me to plan a particular event. It was going to be an opening, which I did, and it was fine. It came out well. It was quite big, so for me it was like a major big job for me, and I was happy at the pace at which I was, pulling up the shirts, and they were really looking perfect. So one of the guys who attended the event, a friend to the convener of the event, to the owner of the event, was like, whoa, I like your industrious, I like your person, you're smart, you're outspoken, and you know how to do almost everything and do it well. Like, how do you do it? And I was like, well, it's just me, that's just where I am. And he got really interested, and we exchanged contacts, started talking, and sometimes he just calls me, hey babe, what's up? What's your plan for the weekend? Any event? And I'll be like, yes. And they're like, okay, drop location. He'll just come around, just come and check up, like to see what's up, and always commenting, always checking up on me. So for me, I felt it was like a good thing to just have someone who you've not known from Adam, you know, become close, check up on you, and they're after your progress. And after like about 6 to 8 months of that constant checkup, he then just dropped the suggestion one day, like, he doesn't know how I'm going to see this, but there's a traveling opportunity, and he feels this should be the end thing for me, since I already have plans to further education. Already I had started NCE. I was in my 200 level. I started NCE, but it was a bit tight. So most times when it's like that, he's always like one of the people I call, like, what's up, I'm having challenges with fees, or my friend and a couple of other friends will be like, every time you have to call me either for fees or for feeding or one thing or the other. I feel this is an opportunity for you. If you can take it up, you should go to Malaysia. You're going to be working in the hair factory, because at that point, apart from making cakes and planning events, I just got talented with playing around weave-ons, and then I just started making wigs even without even knowing that wig was going to become something that's going to be in vogue. So when they saw it and they're like, this is really beautiful, like, how did you come about this? I don't know, I just see things and I do them. So he said that this is really good. So if you're going to a company where you're going to be working with attachment, weave-ons, and then you could get another job where you can work in a restaurant, maybe as a pastry chef or as an assistant baker, where you can shuffle in between both duties, make cool cash, and say in about 6 months you must have saved up enough. And then I was like, I don't have money. I know traveling out now, most especially going to Malaysia now, should cost so much. And it was like, no, that even if I don't have cash, I shouldn't worry about it. I'm like, how are you going to do that? And he was like, I should just leave all of that for him, that all he needs from me is my consent that I'll be willing to go. I said, but not without you telling me how you're going to go about it. And then he did explain that there are agents who are into traveling, and they help people travel either to go to school or to work. But then if you do not have money, there are people who are like investors, and what they do is to invest their money on you to travel. And then when you get to your post country, you start working, maybe like your first 3, 4, 5 months working, your salary will be used to pay them back whatever they have spent on you, but though it will be maybe either multiplied or there'll be an addition. And then he was like, I think if you are that hardworking, this shouldn't be a problem for you. So I sat down and thought about it, like, okay, so how much are we looking at here? And then he did a plus or minus $3,500 then, and then if I was going to pay back, I was going to be paying back like $7,000, and I was like, okay, how much are we talking about in Naira? He did the conversion, and then he did made me understand that I shouldn't even look at that money, that I'm going to be getting dinars, and that dinars is way higher than Naira. So, and he was like, don't worry, this is like the best opportunity for you. I know you're strong, I know you're hardworking, and you're very fun to be with. People love to be around you, so definitely you're going to make good friends who would even give you stipends, and you probably might not just have to pay back with all your hard-earned money. So the idea was to go work and come back to set up better or to finish up school so I can get a job. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And then he said he was going to, if I was ready, then he will now tell me the remaining processes. But then I have to look for like 4 extra people to make us 5. I was like, okay. And so these, my other friends, they also know this, my particular friend, Mary, that introduced me to the agent. So somehow, you know, there's no how now, friends, girls would definitely meet. And I really don't remember how my other friends got to know, but they also got to know about the traveling because he also became friends with them. But because anybody can meet anybody anywhere, I didn't really try to know exactly how they also met this same person. But then the other thing I remember was that we were all talking about this whole traveling thing, and my other friends were like, they were ready, 2 sisters and 2 of their friends, so with 5 of us. And then we started talking about it, so they were like, we're going to get at least 50K first. The 50K was supposed to be for like our passport and some other little things that we would need right here before moving, but the traveling expenses was going to be covered by the investor, the invisible investor. So I for like a month we were on it, trying to get cash, running around, and several times they did say we're going to meet one person tomorrow. They could just call up today and say, okay, we're meeting the main travel agents tomorrow, we're meeting this tomorrow, and then we go. So they asked us to bring passports, pictures, so we should come for medical tests and all that. So on the day we went to Ikorodu to meet this other set of guys. That was the day we met a magician. So he is also part of the crew. Then the magician happens to be the transporter. So he did mention that when it comes to things like this, that he normally advises young ladies not to tell anyone, and that the reason why he would tell them not to tell anyone is because they will definitely discourage you the moment you tell them someone is paying for your traveling. That families don't believe that somebody anywhere can just decide to pay for you to travel, go work and come back. So at some point he actually did some magic. So he said he was going to show us what he does for a living in Malaysia, and that he had just come back, but he has decided to rest. He wants to stay back in Nigeria to take care of his family, and that this is what he does for a living in Malaysia and some other countries where he goes to. And then he brought out stuff, sand, salt, handkerchief. Then he did turn the sand into, he did turn salt into sand, and then turned the salt again into a bird. So seeing that, we, it just blew us out kind of. And he also said that if we wanted to really go and we were certain that we were not going to tell anyone, we needed to like swear an oath and all of that. So they were going to make some concussion with new notes. So all of this is just to be secure that we're not going to be telling anybody. And at that point I was really not very down with everything, but one thing just kept sticking in my mind, which is, as far as I'm going to make myself better, as far as I'm not going to be leaning or calling or having to trouble family and all of that. And it was an opportunity for me to at least like do something tangible for myself. So I didn't really see anything, though I had doubts. I had very big doubts. So after that, they said they were going to let us know when we'll be leaving and how we will be leaving. We don't need to take anything, maybe just a bag or just maybe like a pair or 2 pairs of clothes, that when we get somewhere, we'll be going for shopping, we'll get clothes, and we'll get every necessary thing that we needed. So initially, when he started mentioning that you don't have to tell anyone, so for me, I found it very difficult that, okay, I'll be leaving my child for my mom and I won't be able to describe to my mom where exactly I'm going to or what I'm going there to do. And why would someone say, it's supposed to be a good news. So why would someone else say, don't tell your family, because they probably will not like the sound of it or they will discourage you. For me, I feel that should be a good news and you should share. So, but he made us to believe that when you do that, they will discourage you and you might end up missing an opportunity of a lifetime. And another thing that got me thinking was the fact that he did mention that a lot of girls do go and they come back, they get to do big things for themselves. He also mentioned that apart from working in salons, restaurants, that some people go there to hustle. So when I heard the word hustle, I actually did ask, like, what's the meaning of hustle? And it was like, regular hustle now. I'm like, no, the way that word sounds to me, the way you're saying it, looks like there's a different meaning to hustle. And then he now expatiated and said, some girls do go there just to go and work in brothels and come back. I'm like, okay. So hearing that started making me think, like, okay, this means that there is something he's not saying. So then I now asked clearly, what exactly are you taking me to this country to go and do? He now asked, what did you tell your friend you want to do? I said, no, I didn't tell him. He suggested that since I am good in these areas, so I can work in a restaurant and then also work in a hair factory. And he was like, so that is what you are going to do? So I said, okay, and waited for the day they were going to call. So on the day he called, that's the initial guy that told me about the traveling opportunity. He called and said, okay, so get ready by next week. We are moving by next week Sunday. It was supposed to be a Sunday. I said, okay, no problem. And then on getting to Ikorodu, I found out that my other friends weren't there. So I asked, what's up, what happened with the other friends? And it was like, they couldn't come up with even money for their passports, which was 50K. I was like, oh, because I saw one of them that morning and I was like asking her, babe, how far? She was like, that she's not sure that she's going. That's the one that has a sister. And that again, that their mom told them that it's not a good journey, that they shouldn't go. And that if she would advise me that I shouldn't go, for their mom to say it's not a good journey, I was like, why at the dying minute? So to me at that point, I just thought that, okay, maybe this is why these guys were always saying don't tell anybody. So I just went because I'd already packed my bag. So I went to Ikorodu, and then on getting to Ikorodu, we passed the night in Ikorodu. They said we were waiting for 2 other people to join us, and the next day he took us to Agbara. On getting to Agbara, it's a lady's house, and I met the owner of the house and about 3 other ladies. So he said, so this is the person that is your real travel agent. She's the one that is paying for you. She's the one that is helping you to travel to the person who sent money to her. And I said, okay. So what I told my mom when I was going to leave, I told her that I was traveling and that it was going to take me maybe like 6 or 8 months to come back. And she was like, what kind of a travel is that, and why are you staying so long? So I told her that it's a friend that is helping me out, and I really do not have to do so much just to pay for my passport. So she was even the one that even gave me like 35K out of the 50K that I gave those guys. And when I explained to her that it's a friend, and she already knows the guy, so the guy as in became very close. During one of our school parties, my mom's school party, he actually came around. He comes, like everybody now knew him. So when I mentioned his name and my mom, okay, she didn't see a reason to question, because this is someone that everybody has come to know very well. So she was like, okay. So that day I told her was the day she gave me the money, and she was like, okay, if you say that is what you want to do. But then she now asked what I was going to do about my school. So I said, already I had missed the exam for that semester, and I already had missing exams from the previous semester. So when I come back, I'll sort it out. So she was like, okay, if that is what you want. But then she wasn't really like okay with it. She kept asking questions upon questions and questions upon questions. I'm like, at least you know the person that is actually working on this for me. So if there is anything, you can always ask him. So that was the last conversation I had with my mom. And at that time, there was a very big issue in the house. I was not in good terms with my stepdad and my mom. We had issues. So for me, it was just, I'd had it to the truth and I wanted to just leave the house. So, and that was it. And I left. So my mom asked, so how are we going to be feeding this child? How are we going to be doing this? How are we going to be that? I told her not to worry, that at each point, I would always know what to do. So she didn't really bother me so much about the child because she was still little, she was just 5. At least she would be able to still feed her and do some other things. So that was how I left my daughter with my mom and left. So on getting to that house, seeing 3 other ladies and then the lady in question that owns the house, she was like, okay, so first she gave me rules that I was not comfortable with, and no talking to anybody, you're on your own here, this is just you and your destiny, like it's just you and your destiny here, no friendship, the only business you're here for is for you to be taken to the country where you're going to. She too, she just came back, she's going to be joining us like in a month's time and all. So she said we're moving in 3 days. So in 3 days nothing was happening, and then I was forced to ask questions like, I've been here for 3 days, nobody's going anywhere, what's happening? So she was like, we're waiting for 2 more people. I'm like, that was the same thing these guys said the last time, they're waiting for 2 more people, you're also saying the same thing. So she almost snapped out like, I'm questioning her too much, I'm pestering and this and that, and that I should just take her word when she says we're waiting for 2 more people, or if I was the one that was going to pay the money. So I kept quiet. So that day was a day to my birthday that year, March 2nd. So I felt, okay, since I'm still around, let me just go home. So I went home, saw my mom, saw everyone, just got stuff. So my birthday, that was on my birthday, I went home, and feel like my mom was like, what happened, you've not gone? And like, we're waiting for 2 more people. And then my mom now aired out like, are you sure this thing is really genuine, and are you sure that you're not doing the wrong thing? She kept asking questions. So she asked me to call the guy that night so that she can confirm from him. So but I called that night, his number wasn't going through. I told her that I didn't want to stay too long so that I can get back home, get back there on time, and that was how I left. So 2 days after, we were ready, and the lady asked her brother to take us to the park. So already, while the magician guy was talking to us a few days earlier, he had mentioned that we were going to go by road to an extent, and that the reason we're going by road to an extent is to avoid wahala from immigration and all of that. And to me, I was just wondering, but why are you trying to avoid these people if this is genuine? But I couldn't really ask too much questions. So he said we're going to go by road to a particular extent. So when the guy said we're going to the park, it took us to a park at Yanopaja, and then we entered Kano. So I now asked, why are we going to Kano? Then he said, that's the first place we are going to. That's where I will meet the people that will now take us to where we're going to. So at this point, we're 4 ladies and the guy. So he stayed with us at the park till the bus was full, and we moved. So right there at the park, there were 2 ladies in the same bus behind us, and I noticed they were murmuring to each other. I tried eavesdropping. At that point, my Yoruba wasn't really fluent, but I can understand little by little. So I tried eavesdropping to maybe just hear something, because I became very worried. Like, am I sure I really want to continue? I can't just go back home from here and just run away. So I started looking at a means at which I can maybe even just abscond from this guy's hand. But you know, he was seated right opposite us. So even if I come down from the bus now, he's definitely going to see me. So at a point, I acted like I wanted to go buy something, and then I noticed that he was walking behind me, and I was like, okay, so this guy is watching me, I can't run away. So at a point, I just waved the thought of running away and felt like, as far as I'm going for a good cause, let me just go and do what I got to do and come back home. So we left. Getting to Kano, I was on my phone at that point, and the lady did mention to me that when I get to Kano, she gave me a particular number. when I get to Kano, or if we are being stopped on the way, or maybe we're being arrested or hijacked on the way by any of the security officials, that we should call the particular number. So at the point where I think it was NDLEA that stopped us, and they were like, where are we going to? And to me, I just said, they said when they asked us, we should tell them we're going to Kano. And if they ask us who are we going to meet in Kano, we should mention a particular name, which was what we did. And they did let us go. So getting there, I called the number, the man did come and asked us to stay somewhere, and picked us, took us somewhere else. And I was like, okay, so what next? And then he said, he now mentioned the lady's name. She wasn't that sent us to him, right? I said yes. So he told us, yeah, enter the car. And he drove off. So we drove for like 3 hours. Getting to where we were, to me it was like, why are we here? This place is looking deserted and all. So I started looking out. I remember looking out and I saw Sabongeri while we were driving. I saw Sabongeri. And I remember that at some point I heard about Sabongeri before, and I remember it being like an outskirt of Kano or so, thereabouts. So I was like, okay, but why are we going this far? I couldn't really ask the man questions because he wasn't even going to answer. And from there, they hipped us. The place he took us to, we met some other women and men there. And they wouldn't even allow you to say anything. They were just pushing everybody in. People must not see us and all that. So they, like a hut, like it was a small hut, and there were people around. So they were trying to hide us. So at that point, I started becoming very scared, because why are you hiding us? Why are we having to rush into somewhere? You don't want people to know we are here. If they know we are here, they're going to come and take us away or something.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Ahead of governorship elections in Lagos State, we address issues arising from candidacy and choice of various political parties. And the Lagos Police Force issues strong warning ahead of March 11 governorship election. This is Plus Politics. My name is Nyamgu Agaji. The Lagos State Police Command has vowed to prosecute people spreading fake news and provocative content on social media with the intent of causing panic in the state. The spokesman of the command, Benjamin Hundeyin, stated this on Monday. Hundeyin was reacting to the increase in the level of propaganda and inciting ethnic statements among social media users ahead of the March 11 gubernatorial election. He also revealed that the police in the state have begun investigation into related cases with the aim of prosecuting those found guilty. Also, the former governor of Ogun State has appealed to Lagos residents of Igbo extraction not to make the state's gubernatorial election an ethnic issue. He described Lagos as the most liberal state in this country and appealed to the Igbo people that he described as our brothers and sisters in Lagos to sustain the relationship. Since Peter Obi, candidate of the Labour Party, defeated Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress in Lagos during the presidential election, the heat of ethnic nationalism has increased between some of the state's Yoruba and Igbo residents, and social media has been awash with ethnic slurs as residents count down to the governorship election billed for March 11. Joining us to discuss this is Gbenga Ogunleye, spokesperson to the Lagos PDP governorship candidate Akin Alaoye, a concerned citizen and member of the Labour Party, and Adebayo Adedosu, Assistant Director, Diaspora Mobilization and Allied Matters of Oyo State APC PCC, joining us to discuss all this. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. I understand Akin Alaoye will be joining a little bit later, but now we are here with Gbenga Ogunleye, spokesperson of the PDP candidate Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran, whom we all know as Jandor, and also Adebayo Adedosu, Assistant Director, Diaspora Mobilization and Allied Matters of Oyo State APC, PCC, and Governorship Campaign Council. Okay, let me begin with the PDP. The protest will continue for a very long time. Those were the words of Atiku Abubakar, who mobilized other PDP chieftains to Abuja to protest the election that was held on the 25th of February 2023. Now, the question I've always asked is that why concentrate on a protest when you have a governorship election coming up? How do you intend to combine the two, protesting and then mobilizing people to vote for the governorship? Or have you ruled out the possibility that governorship could also be something that you will gain from? Mr. Ogunleye, I'm asking you, and I said I'll start with the PDP.
All right. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you for having me. Well, straight to the point. The ongoing protest is taking place at Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, and not across the 36 states of the Federation. Invariably, the elections will be holding in maybe about 20 plus states across the country, and not at the FCT. The People's Democratic Party, as a law-abiding political party with huge respect for the judiciary, has done the needful by proceeding to the court as regards the outcome of the presidential and the National Assembly election. But for the gubernatorial elections and the state assembly elections that are to hold this Saturday, 11th March, we are prosecuting that in all the states that will be where we'll be having the elections. So it has nothing to do with the protest. And as the presidential candidate of our party has rightly said, and that's the Vice President Atiku Abubakar. The need for the protest is to let the people know that the People's Democratic Party is not sitting on his ass or resting on his ass as regards this, the outcome of the election. And they need to let INEC know the position of the party. This is within the ambit of the law. This is allowed by the law. And over again, the party leadership made it known to Nigerians that no, we are not calling for rancorous protest. This is a lawful, peaceful protest to register the preservation of the leadership of the party as far as the outcome of the election and the shabby action of the Independent National Electoral Commission as regards the election is concerned. So we are focused on the state election in Lagos State. We are committed to the election, and we are looking forward, waiting to coast to victory as we approach the election. So it does not affect our preparedness for the state election in any way.
Okay, but okay, let me come to you, Bayo. He has just said why they are protesting and that it's not going to affect the local elections in the states and all that. But to protest at the national level shows that there was something wrong with the process, and because of that, the confidence of the people in a very transparent process may be eroded a little bit, and it might affect the elections coming up on Saturday. What is your response to the protest carried out by the PDP itself, and how you think it's going to affect the elections of Saturday? Bayo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You can actually see that I was laughing to myself because it is just so insane and out of sync that a party that lost an election already is at the tribunal challenging the outcome of the elections, now deemed it fit to take to the street. That simply means you are taking laws into your hands. You cannot be at the tribunal and also be on the street at the same time. That can only be PDP. We know they are stuck in trade. The same thing happened in 2019 when they put themselves on some carriage and drove around the streets of Abuja. So it is not anything new. It simply tells you the caliber of people who are in PDP. Men of integrity, law-abiding people, Democrats, real Democrats, will never go the way of the PDP. I don't see anywhere in the world you lose an election, you petition for the result of the election to be reviewed, and at the same time you are taken to the streets. It seems as if we like to take the laws into our hands and turn the laws on its head. It's not done that way. When Donald Trump had a problem with the election that brought in Joe Biden, he went to the court, and within a twinkle of an eye, all the courts in the country were throwing out his petitions. And we know what happened when he tried with the June 6th insurgency attack on the Capitol Hill, how they are being treated. Some of them have just been sentenced to jail terms. It is only in Nigeria where legality becomes illegality and illegality becomes legality. And I'm so perturbed that those who call themselves Democrats, of course we know they are not Democrats. We know the only thing they are fighting for is survival of the self.
But Bayo, is that comparison a really fair comparison? Because in the Capitol protest, there was really a lot of violence, and so many things were destroyed. This one is a peaceful protest that is being carried out. And secondly, Bayo, as you're answering, secondly, you said within a twinkle of an eye, all the petitions that Trump brought before the courts were thrown out because they really actually sat. Do you trust the same to happen in the judicial system of Nigeria, that whatever you take to the courts, if you just leave it to the courts, you will have speedy judgment?
Now you are trying to debate me. You are not trying to ask me questions. Let us limit it to questions. Okay? The other time when he was talking, you did not interject the way you are interjecting. Let me ask questions and
No. If I'm not clear about a thing, I have to ask you. You cannot run away from it.
Hold on. I'm coming to that. It is you and I that cause distrust of the judiciary. And it is people like PDP element, like people in PDP. When I say you and I, I'm not talking about you in person. I'm talking about the average Nigerian, about our people. It is only when it pays us that democracy is flourishing. The moment we don't get the results we anticipate, we say democracy is under attack, democracy is under a siege. The laws are clear. If you have a case and you are able to prove your case beyond every reasonable doubt, then the court will do the needful. And when you're talking about peaceful protest and violent protest, let me distinguish. A peaceful protest can also be a violent protest. The moment your right to demonstrate, okay, impedes or infringes on my right to free movement, it is no longer taken to be peaceful. Because at that point in time, I'm constrained. In the exercise of your own right, you are constraining me. I can no longer be said to be peaceful. I can assure you, in the Western world, like for example in Canada, if you want to protest in Canada, particularly Toronto, you go to Dundas Park, and the police, you get a permit. There is a particular time, by 4 o'clock, the police will come and tell you to keep it moving. You are not going to be allowed to block the roads. You are not going to be allowed to impede the movement of other law-abiding people, or law-abiding citizens. When you take to the street, you impede the movement of other people who are not in line with you. You are not peaceful. Don't let us get it. It is not when people start throwing things, start vandalizing things, that we say it is a violent protest. No. You are in contravention of other people's rights. That is not peaceful. When you want to do a peaceful protest, do it in such a way, gather at your party secretariat, restrict yourself to a place where other people who are not in tune with you will not be affected. And let us not start casting aspersion on the judiciary when the case has not even opened up. They are still in the preliminary stages of the tribunal. Why are we already saying, do we have confidence in the judiciary? Do I even have confidence in the media as well? I do not. So that is the same thing.
You seem to have taken the fight back to me.
Hold on. When we begin to campaign against the process, we are taking credibility away from the process. The question you have asked me is trying to take credibility away from the process, credibility away from the judiciary, and it is not right. It is very unfair. We are not there yet. Don't let us go there. Thank you.
Okay, well, let it not sound like I am attacking you, but whenever you say something and I'm not really clear, or I have something to give you as an example, I will have to cut you short and then tell you what I feel. You see, when you say that a peaceful protest becomes a violent protest when you have obstructed some people, I'm just thinking about 2014 when Nigeria was occupied and the APC was going to the streets and making sure that their voices were heard. So I am not seeing that as a different thing from what is happening right now. But if you've called this one a violent protest, and we should leave it at that, well, let's keep it. But we'll come to the specifics. We'll come to the specifics of these things that we are talking about.
That's what I said earlier. You are debating because you are also taking a position. Any protest whatsoever that impedes on the rights of other people cannot be, because they are not throwing sticks, they are not fighting.
Yeah, that's why I'm mentioning the protests that have done that from 2014.
And there have been other protests. If you want to make it about party, then as at that, what year did you quote? What year did APC come into existence? Nigerians, not APC. Nigerians, it's not APC. So don't let us do that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Don't take a position.
If we have need to return to that, we will return to that. But
thank you.
We have to pursue other concerns. Let me come back to you, Mr. Ogunleye. We just want to get out some of the things that are out there that people are talking out of the way, so that you can deny or accept that these things are happening because you are making them happen or not, so that people will debunk some of the things that may be false out there. First of all, We have heard your principal, the governorship candidate of the PDP, saying that there cannot be an alliance at all with any other party, especially like the Labour Party, which we heard some rumors that you may be having an alliance because it is now the opposition and opposition versus the incumbent. And your principal came out to say that to have an alliance with the Labour Party is like sitting on a keg of gunpowder. We need to understand what he really meant by saying sitting on a keg of gunpowder if he goes into an alliance with another very formidable opposition party. Mr. Ogunleye, please.
Well, thank you so much. What the party candidate, our governorship candidate, Dr. Abdelaziz Olajide Adediran, actually referred to is that the Labour Party in Lagos State, as of now, still have a lot of contentions regarding the candidacy of their governorship, the standard bearer. Of course, it is a public knowledge that issues were being raised on the eligibility of the candidate to have contested in the primary elections, not being a member of the party for more than 1 month before the primary elections. These are issues within the party. And of course, it could be a sort of a keg of gunpowder waiting for.
Mr. Ogunleye, we don't seem to have your audio. Okay, as soon as we can get his audio back, we will. Hello,
can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you. Please.
Oh, all right. Yes, the candidate of the Labour Party, as we know, Mr. Gbadebo, has issues, contentions within the party because there is another individual within the party who also laid claim to be the authentic gubernatorial candidate of the party. And you know, it's a litigation issue that they are still pursuing within the party.
So without those baggages, were you considering an alliance?
Of course. We are not going straight into alliance with the Labour Party as of now.
Okay.
However, the PDP is open to other political parties.
Okay.
Not only the Labour Party. Of course, we have close to about 13 political parties standing for election in this March 11 global election in Lagos State. Okay. We are open. Members of the Labour Party as of today are already identifying with the PDP. We are only talking about the candidate himself. The candidate himself has internal issue within the party to resolve. And it has nothing to do with us, and we don't want to get into it.
Okay.
We don't want to be involved in that internal issue of the Labour Party.
Okay.
But as many members of the Labour Party in Lagos State who are willing, who are out there to support in dislodging the demon that have held the state by the jugular over the 24 years, of course, we are hoping to welcome them and work with them.
Okay.
Deliver and rescue Lagos State.
Okay, we're expecting Akin Olaoye to join us later. He's of the Labour Party, and we're hoping that he can answer some of the questions that you have raised, some of the concerns you have raised, why this alliance cannot go. So let me just go to Mr. Adedosu right now. The APC, it's also said that the campaign of the APC is ethnic-based recently, that some people are threatening some other people, and they are campaigning based on the fact of or doubting the legitimacy of some of the candidates that are contesting the governorship election here in Lagos, and saying that people should not vote for them based on that, and not talking about the issues. I'd like you to confirm this or debunk this or distance yourself from whatever campaign is based on ethnicity in Lagos, because that is what is on the social media and everywhere else.
Thank you very much for that question. You said legitimacy.
Yes.
I want you to put it in context properly, because when you say legitimacy, Benga just raised issue about the legitimacy of the candidacy of the Labour Party candidate presently parading himself. That is legitimacy. So when you're talking about legitimacy, see, what are you referring to? Are you referring to what you just answered? I don't know. Because what you said about legitimacy is loose. Probably if you could close it up, I'll be able to answer it directly.
Yeah, I started by saying it is based mostly on ethnic sentiments. And whatever legitimacy I'm talking about is based on ethnic sentiments. And people are now identifying APC's campaign with ethnic sentiments and saying that some of these contestants are not even Lagosians. They are from different ethnic groups and all that. That is the legitimacy I'm talking about, not because he couldn't buy a form or anything. That is what I'm talking about. Is the APC basing their campaign on that or not?
Okay, I think now I understand where you're coming from. What you're trying to say is, probably you can identify the particular candidate and I can give you a straight answer. Because I don't like to speak in general
Labour
terms.
Party.
Okay, Labour. Okay, you're talking about the Labour Party candidate. Good. It's good that you have identified it that way. And one thing about me, I tell people, I don't work on essays. I don't go by what people say on social media. As long as I don't hear it directly from the campaign of APC, it is inconsequential.
Let me put it differently. There are videos of people who are known chieftains of the APC threatening some people. And that is what I just wanted to give you the opportunity to either distance yourself or confirm that you gave the go-ahead as an APC. Okay. Simple.
I think you are trying to scare the honest nest, and I will oblige you if you want us to go there. Okay? We are not oblivious of the way supporters of Labour Party in Lagos State have been making claims to so many things, that they want to take over Lagos. It is their right. They have the power to take over Lagos. And except you want to be insincere to yourself, that you say this is not something that is scary, that the only reason why they are supporting the candidate is because they believe he has close affinity or affiliation to a particular tribe, that they have identified him with a particular tribe, and as such, they are going all out to support him. Prior to last week's election, everybody knew him as Gbadebo, Rose Vival. Right after, within a short while, Chinedu came out. The Chinedu, it's not as if it doesn't bear the Chinedu. The Chinedu came out to whip up ethnic sentiment. And I can play to you right now so many Twitter space events and all the things that are being said against the Yoruba people, particularly against people from Lagos State. I'm a Yoruba man. And when you begin to poke your hands into my eyes, I'll be forced to push back however I can. I'm not aware of any APC stalwart. I've not seen the video. I'm not going to comment on what I've not seen. You have seen it. I've not seen it. I won't comment on what I've not seen. I only comment on what I've seen. Even to the point that the wife of Gbadebo referred to Ibadan people in the most atrocious manner, which I will quickly show to us. I was offended as a Yoruba man. I was offended as an Ibadan person that somebody could describe my people as guinea pig. That's what she said about Ibadan.
Mr. Adedosu, the Labour Party chieftain is not here, or member is not here. But the question is simple. If the question is simple, whether you have seen the videos or not, these utterances of the people who are linked to your party, let me use it that way, is it the stand of the APC or it is not? If you say it's not the stand of the APC, we'll leave it at that. But if you start giving me instances where you are insulted, it is implying something else. So
I said
is it?
To you that I said to you, I cannot comment on what I have not personally seen.
Okay.
I don't hold opinion on what I've not seen. So you cannot ask me to comment on what I've not seen. But if you can see this is it. Where he said he supported IPOB to a point. And that is somebody that wants to rule Lagos. That is somebody that wants to be an administrator to rule over different tribes in Lagos.
So you felt insulted. Okay.
Okay, that is just from, that is him saying that. But his wife, who will now be the wife of the governor, referred to Ibadan people in the most despicable manner. And it is also on record that himself has been making some very outlandish statements.
Okay.
But this guy is not here to defend him, so I won't go deep into
okay,
that.
Mr. Agunleye.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, Mr. Agunleye, thank you. Let's not make it, let me not make it like it's a tribal thing. So let's drop that. I'm happy that you've said that you didn't see that, and you didn't seem to say that it is the stand of your party, and I respect that. So I leave that. Let's go to general matters. But before the general matters that we're going to discuss about the coming election and others, we'd need to take a short break. And after that break, we'll go into specifics of what Saturday is supposed to look like and other things.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
You're welcome back. We're still here, and it's Plus Politics. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. I'm here with Benga Ogunleye, spokesperson to the Lagos PDP governorship candidate. I am also here with Adebayo Adedosu, Assistant Director, Diaspora Mobilization and Allied Matters of Oyo State APC PPC, or PCC rather. Gentlemen, let me begin with what has happened. Your reactions to the court order to use beavers to transmit results of the election of Saturday. I'd like to get your individual reactions to this. Let me start with you, Mr. Adebayo.
Anyways, there's something fundamental that we need to get right about the beavers upload or transmission of the results. For you to transmit a result, there needs to be a collation at different centers, that is at the polling units. And collation is done manually. The most important and the most significant of all this process is the collation at the polling unit and its documentation. The documentation in the sense that it's been registered or entered into the relevant INEC forms and signed by each party agent. You cannot just count the result of the election without it being documented. You need to document it. All the party agents available around should sign off on it. That is a legal document. That is a primary legal document. Because if what is transmitted at the end of the day into the beavers does not tally with what was signed off on, then there is an issue. So people keep talking about transmission. Where do you transmit from? You transmit from a manual process into the beavers. And let's ask ourselves, I heard so many reports about how INEC's personnel had to be using their own data to run the beavers, to run the accreditation process during voting. The error is not about party, has nothing to do with the different parties. It is INEC. Why is it so difficult for INEC to have the right bandwidth for all the gadgets they are deploying for these elections in this election cycle? To the point that their polling unit, the election officers have to be using their mobile hotspot to actually run the system, which simply means if we have technology issue, the transmission will not be smooth, will be hampered. That is why I believe in a case like this, the most significant for everybody to note is the documentation of this report on the right INEC document, signed off, and everybody at the polling unit should be allowed to take snapshots of the result sheet. When everybody has the same result sheet signed off on, at any given time, it can be uploaded. Because the uploading will come from a manual process. I don't understand, we are not voting electronically. It's a different thing if you are voting electronically. And we also have it on good record by INEC itself that within 72 hours, its database was attacked 166 times, which simply means some people had already prepared results that they wanted to transmit. And how does it happen? I'm an IT consultant. I am actually a biometric consultant. So I know how this thing works. In the course of the transmission of the results, what the hackers were trying to do is they will block the transmission that is coming in from INEC. Their own will now override that of INEC and will be uploaded, not knowing the different layers of security that INEC has in place. It is as a result of these attacks that INEC could not upload.
Yeah, but INEC didn't accept the fact that they were being attacked until afterwards. When they were asked whether it was attacked, they said it was not attacked. Their server was still on.
My brother, remember even before the election, the INEC chairman came out to address Nigerians that they were being attacked from Paris, from France, from Russia, from everywhere. They were seeing all kinds of attempts to hack INEC. And it did not stop into the election, which simply means those who are crying foul have challenged some people that, okay, give me the results from your polling units, if you have it. Let us go to IREV. Those crying wolf that the results were changed and all that don't even know how to use the IREV to check results.
Okay.
Somebody was telling me, oh, I didn't take my phone to the polling unit. I'm just like, so convenient. It is not so convenient for you to say you didn't take your phone to so you don't have the result. And those who had the result, people have been going there. There was even a thread on Twitter of a man, I can't remember his name. He's in Lagos. He lives in Lekki area. And said he pulled results from 12 different polling units that he had the result. He went into IREV and everything tallied. Everything tallied. That is the process I'm talking about.
Okay, let me also get the response from Ogunleye. What is your reaction to this order that has been given by the court to INEC to upload results from the polling units with their beavers?
Well, thank you so much. I almost took Mr. Adebayo for the spokesperson of INEC. He did a good job in defending the INEC as regards the shabby performance we had at the presidential election. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah. What the electoral law posited is that transmission of the result after all the processes of documentation is done by taking a picture of the result sheet, uploaded onto the Weavers, and transmitted. Now, the importance of this is exactly what Mr. Adebayo is failing to consider. In a situation where the results do not tally, then whatever has been transmitted or uploaded on the Weavers will be the authentic result. Now, take for instance, if any of the political party claim that the result sheet within has been tampered with, agree with the original copy that was with INEC, the only document that will stand as a medium of check, that will stand as the most authentic document, is the document that was uploaded and transmitted in the presence of all the party agents at the polling unit. And this is the significant difference between the 2023 election and 2019. Take away the transmission and uploading of results at the
just in a nutshell, Mr. Ogunleye, in a nutshell, does it give you more confidence that the governorship election will be better than the presidential election? That's my concern.
Still ongoing, and the INEC has come up to promise, because they overpromised at the presidential election and underperformed. Now, INEC chairman has come to promise again that the Weavers will be active, translation of the results will be done at the polling unit. Of course, we are going to go along and expect that this will be done.
Okay.
Only that our party agents will ensure.
Thank you. I have heard, just a moment, gentlemen, just a moment. We have so much to cover, so just a moment. Let me ask this.
On this particular issue, give me 10 seconds.
Ignorance
of the position of the law is rather something we should run away from. In August of last year, INEC chairman specifically came out to say collation will be done manually. It's all over the news. So when you now said I sounded more like the spokesman of INEC, it's simply because you are coming from a position of ignorance. And I don't do emotions. I do on the basis of the law. And what is proper.
We are not talking about your opinion.
Why are you telling me?
We are not talking about your opinion.
Don't try to sound smart by saying I was only telling you the position of the law and what the electoral act said.
What is the position of the law?
Let me educate you on what you don't know. Don't
bother. Speak to what I have said. Hello, can you speak to what I have said?
Cannot go with this ignorance.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. I was trying to weigh your level of confidence in the next election, but let's not go too far. For on the one hand, it seems
opinion. You are just speaking about you can hold any opinion you have. I'm saying that
gentlemen, we have so much to cover. Just a moment. Bayo and Benga.
Is that wrong?
This one is not supported by law.
Bayo and Benga, just a moment.
Will be uploaded at the polling unit.
Is empowered.
Position.
When you are empowered, it simply means you reserve the right.
Okay, gentlemen, can you hear me? Gentlemen, can you hear me? Please.
Speak to the issue.
Please. We have talked about this, and we had so many things to cover. We still have so many things to cover. If we can be brief now, we can cover some of these areas. I would have loved to know some cardinal points in the manifesto, how to make Lagos better than it is now. But I wanted to get some of these things out of the way before we get into that. And as it is, we may not have time to do that so much. But this one, as quickly as you can. INEC has asked that the court order giving the PDP and Labour Party the leeway to inspect the election materials, including the beavers, might not be very good for them if they have to carry out the election of Saturday. And some IT experts have come up to say that if they do that, they're going to tamper with some of the evidences. So instead of tampering with the evidences, they should postpone the election. If this happens, I'd like to know what your reaction would be. Let me start with you, Mr. Ogunleye. What would your reaction be? What will the reaction of your party be if the election is postponed?
Okay, thank you so much.
Very briefly, please.
I do not expect that INEC will be this shabby about the preparation for the election, considering the volume of money that has been spent on the process. I expect INEC to envisage, because normally there will be litigation issue after any election. It is not cast in stone. It is not expected that all the political parties will agree with the result of the election. So if the INEC has not made provision to allow the protection of the evidences, the result of the first election before we move to the second one, then it is very unfortunate. Very, very, very unfortunate. What the INEC should have brought to the Court of Appeal is the assurance that recalibrating or working on the beavers machine will have no effect on the result of the presidential and the National Assembly election. That would have been the vision, that would have been enough. The Court of Appeal to grant the prayer of INEC. But if you will go ahead to tamper with the result that are still being contended.
So, in a nutshell, in a nutshell, would you rather have them postpone the elections than tamper with the evidence?
Of course, it will be better in the interest of the country. In the interest of the country, then it will be better we protect the integrity of the result of the last election so that the judiciary can do the needful.
You share the same sentiments, Mr. Adedosu?
Sorry, can you rephrase it?
I'm asking, if by chance, because people are protesting that INEC should not tamper with the beavers machines and so tamper with the evidences inside the beavers machine, just because they want to conduct election on Saturday. So instead of tampering with these evidences that they think they can have in the beavers, it should be postponed. What would be your reaction if it gets to the point where the election for Saturday is postponed?
There is no reason for any postponement, because the last election that was held, everything that was used that passed through beavers have already been downloaded. They don't reside that they still carry it around. Because the essence of uploading something is to be able to download it. That is science. That is technology. So all the data that were collected during the presidential election have already would have been downloaded into a database. INEC cannot say that they are preserving those ones, so they are still in the system. It will interfere with the state election. I don't see how that will happen. I don't buy into that logic. Except INEC has issue with their technology. They should tell us now. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this governorship election. And like I just said now, every data used or collected during the presidential election ought to have been downloaded into a database that is secure and can be further downloaded for litigation. So the idea of having to postpone an election or not, I don't see how that will fly. I don't see any reason for that if there is no hanky-panky from any quarters. And the good thing is, this is not talking about Lagos election alone. So nobody will say I'm talking for INEC like I'm the spokesperson of INEC. This has nothing to. This is not about Lagos state election that Gbenga will begin to ventilate over that. Hey, they want to take our vote away. Calm down. This is about Nigeria. No reason whatsoever. If we had election in Osun State and they were able to use the same beavers for the presidential election. We had governorship election in Osun State, and they were able to use the same beavers for the presidential election in Osun State. I don't see how that is a problem. There is what is called calibration. The system, the gadgets will be calibrated after they have downloaded all the data that resided in it up till after the election. So I don't buy into anybody saying that. To me, I take it as a beer parlor talk.
Lagosians and Nigerians, as the next election approaches, just very, very briefly, so that we can also give a time to Mr. Ogunleye to speak to the people of Nigeria as well. Bayo, that's you. 30 seconds.
Sorry, I didn't hear you because it cut out right there.
Okay, 30 seconds. Just speak to Nigerians and Lagosians in particular as the next election approaches.
Now this is the time for Lagosians and Nigerians in particular, but I'm focusing on Lagos. Stability, competence, achievement is not something you buy on the street. It's not something you pick along the road. It is to be proven within time and time over. You need a trusted and somebody who has been there through thick and thin.
30 minutes
public
is
sector
gone.
Experience and private sector experience, and that person is Jide Sanwo-Olu. Jide Sanwo-Olu has been there for people.
30 minutes is gone. You've made your point.
At the IGR of Lagos State, and that is why they are interested in Alausa. That is not the case. We need stability in Lagos. We need people with track record. We are not.
Thank you.
With
Thank you. I thought you were going to speak generally. Mr. Ogunleye, please, very briefly, speak to Lagosians and Nigerians. Very, very briefly, because our time is up.
Lagosians have endured the APC-led government for about 24 years. And I mean 24 because it has been the same set of people from AD, AC, ACN, and APC. If there will be any miracle, it will have been done now. It's unfortunate that the state of Lagos is like this at a time like this. What we need in Lagos is a truly independent governor who will not be tied to the apron string of any godfather, who can take decisions, who have the will to move this state forward and make Lagos wealthy indeed, who will ensure that the resources of Lagos is not in the pocket of individuals. And that person is Dr. Abdulaziz.
Okay. Thank you. I was saying speak to Nigerians and Lagosians. You guys were dropping names. I knew it will happen. But thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Gbenga Ogunleye, spokesperson to the PDP candidate Abdulaziz Olajide Adeniran, that we know as Jando. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And also, Mr. Adebayo Adedosu, Assistant Director, Diaspora Mobilization and Allied Matters of Oyo State APC, PCC, and Governorship Campaign Council. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the show. And that's the size of our package tonight. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on PlusTvAfrica, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
I looked away and tried to imagine Mama's reaction when I told her about Gozie. She had been waiting eagerly for me to bring someone home. I needed to marry early, she said. I lacked the traits and beauty to attract many suitors. Thus, I had to make to do with what I had before I was too old and educated to catch a decent man. Maybe I made a mistake by letting your father send you to university. That's why you like arguing like this. Too much book is inside your head, she lamented one day after interrupting a heated conversation between me and my brothers. Today it's politics, tomorrow it's football. Instead of you to come and join me in the kitchen, you're shouting up and down the house like a street boy. My grandmother used to say, only a foolish rat dances with the lizard in the rain. You're a woman, your brothers will have wives to cook for them. After all this book, better make sure you come home with a husband. You better not bring just a certificate. Adugo has that young man who's undo. Even Chinelo has somebody. Mama had been born in a time when education had been a luxury, if not a waste, for a girl child. But my grandmother had been a troublemaker. She'd insisted her husband send all their daughters to the local primary school to learn to read and write. Mama had spent the years afterwards learning to be a wife, and then her father shipped her off to be married long before she turned 18. I had other ambitions, desires she did not understand, to be something other than a wife. I hoped telling Mama about Gozie would restore her faith that I would be married someday. I was tired of being introduced to friends' sons, cousins, uncles, friends. Tired of Mama telling me every time the daughter of someone we knew got engaged or married, and the Ashrebi they were all planned to wear. Tired of congratulating others and watching them respond with oily smiles of those who had achieved all you aim to, saying, don't worry, God will do your own. My name is Iwanuse Odafen, and I'm the author of Tomorrow I Become a Woman. Growing up, my parents were very big on reading, and my dad would buy me a lot of books. You know, my mom made us read academically, like she would always make sure you had to. But then my dad would also like buy me Charles Dickens, just like a lot of the classics. My dad made me read them, and I just loved reading. And it got to a point that I started disturbing him to buy me books, and then he would we had these book shopping days where we'd go shopping for books together. And once I finished reading the books after a while, I'd go back to him again until he got tired and he was like, leave me alone. Because I've always loved reading, like I explained to you, growing up that way. Well, writing actually was something I discovered pretty recently. It all started in 2015 when a friend was going through a very difficult situation. And I remember I was so frustrated about it, and I was talking to someone. The person said something I didn't agree with, basically repeating a lot of societal talk. And I was really upset by this. And I remember I told him, this friend of mine, I was like, I'm going to write about this. And he was like, can you go ahead now, write it. And it's obviously, because it sounded absurd that, I had written it, then I used to write essays and I'd contributed to some non-fiction things in school, but I'd never written a novel, so it was a very bizarre thing to say I was going to do. But then in 2016, I had some free time because I was in between jobs, I was applying for a job. And I was like, I want to write about this thing. I was really bothered by it, and I just started. Asking about writing, you don't get better. It's like you don't get better if you don't write. And I started, and my very first attempt was terrible, but I continued, and that just gave me so much peace, and that's how I really discovered my love for writing. Oh yes, definitely. When I attended the Purple Hibiscus Writing Workshop in 2019, at that point, because I come from a very finance background, so I studied accounting, MBA, everything was just very finance, consultative. But it was the first time I was actually surrounded by writers. Everyone around me was actually a fellow writer that wanted to write. And just to be honest, I think we really underestimate how much just reading other people's works, so when you actually have to workshop each other's works and just reading and being inspired, wow, more people are writing, you know, and just listening to other people's experiences. And I remember also a lot of the tutors at the workshop were also very insightful. Just little things, nothing about writing, you never know what will change. And I remember at that point, I had a draft for my novel then, and I was stuck and I didn't know what to do. And I remember Chimamanda, who was in charge of the workshop, said that particular session I was in, she said something around, you know, sometimes you're writing and then you're so focused on your agenda and you forget to tell a story. It sounds like a very simple advice to a writer, but then it clicked that was what was wrong with my draft. It was a lot. It was a very long process in the sense that, because I had to even gain confidence as a writer, I had to be sure in my own voice. You know, I had to find my own writing voice. But it was such a learning experience for me because I learned so much, not just about the subject I was writing, but also about myself. Because several times I had to interrogate some things I'd accepted and some things I'd thought were normal, because I had to also think back over my own experiences to reflect them, because I really wanted the novel to be a true reflection of society. I wanted everyone to be able to see themselves. So I'd talk to friends, and then I had to even interrogate myself that, is this, you know, why are you comfortable with this? You know, why have you accepted certain things as normal? So it was a very insightful experience. And it also taught me a lot about betting on yourself, because it's so easy to give up when you're writing as a writer, and because you get news, there's so many like, why are you special, you know? But it really taught me resilience. I stopped so many times, and I kept going back. The first draft took me about 2.5 years. Yes, so I started writing the first draft in February 2016. I had a draft by September 2018. But then I had to keep editing, and I had something close to what is published now by 2020. Yeah, so it was a long process. Okay, so it was, again, publishing. I think a lot of people don't really understand how the publishing process, you know. So generally, okay, it's different for a lot of people, and also in Nigeria is a bit different from the West. So like the very first edition of my book was published in the UK, and to do that I had to like query a lot of agents. So I got a lot of no's. Like I got over 50 no's, and from like the draft I had, and that's kind of what, you know, spurred me to keep editing my draft. But I think around after the workshop in 2019, I went back early 2020 and I rewrote my entire draft in 3 weeks. And I finished it, and I just felt like I can buy this book. As I could walk into a bookshop and I can pick. I know. And I was at that point, I knew I was supposed to. So like this can go out, and I started querying again. I think one thing people don't prepare writers for is actually rejection and the reality of publishing. And I think accepting that you're going to be rejected is the first step. And it sounds like a crazy thing to say, you know, like, why would you tell me that, you know, that's a defeatist mindset. But then that's the thing, you're going to be rejected. But then, most of the time, all it takes is 1 yes. And it's about not stopping your work, just keep writing. Because the thing about writing is, the only way you can get better is actually by writing. And it's crazy, it's like, oh, but my writing isn't good. But then
Since the beginning of this campaign, Jandor and Funke have rigorously traversed all wards in Lagos State, from Ikorodu to Badagry, Ekpe to Alimosho, seeking to know the true state of our state and where the shoe really pinches. They visited the riverine communities and places that have never been visited before by any governorship candidate in the history of Lagos politics. Funke's market storm is also the first of its kind by a deputy governorship candidate. Lagos. There's so much work to do. It is time to give the man who knows Lagos and can birth a breath of fresh air the chance to lead. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
Good afternoon to you. I am Justin Akadonye, and this is the news update on Plus TV Africa. Now, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says he will be heading to court to challenge INEC's refusal to allow the party to inspect materials used during the presidential election. Now, the Court of Appeal had granted leave to Obi to have access to all the sensitive materials used by INEC. Now, the electoral umpire, however, asked the court to vary the order, saying the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, needs to be reprogrammed ahead of the March 11 election. Obi, however, encouraged supporters of the party to vote candidate on the Labour Party platform. Meanwhile, a chieftain of the Labour Party in Imo State, Professor Protas Uzoma, has urged Nigerians not to lose confidence in the judiciary. Professor Uzoma said the judiciary would clearly upturn the presidential election result in favor of the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi. He called on INEC to redeem its image by conducting the forthcoming governorship and state houses of assembly elections without irregularities.
There is a provision for lacuna, and lacuna can be created for legal interpretation. And so I do not want to bother myself much about the time the amended act, electoral amended act, because I know certainly that judiciary would like to be very transparent in this case. See, we are not looking for judgment. Nigerians are looking for justice. What we're seeking for is justice and not judgment. Judiciary have been giving judgment, and Nigerians have been going away with that. But judiciary know at this point in time that they are the hope of the common man.
Well, staying with the presidential election aftermath, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has inaugurated the legal team to challenge the outcome of the elections. Now, the former vice president briefed the team at his campaign headquarters in Abuja today. He mandated them to establish the claim of illegality in the February 25 presidential election and reclaim the mandate of the Nigerian people. The team, which is headed by J.K. Gadzama, comprises 19 senior advocates of Nigeria. And now to Ogun State, where the governorship candidate of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, B. Otegbe, has called or told Governor Dakpo Abiodun that no amount of procured endorsement would save him from defeat in Saturday's election. Otegbe accused the state governor of intimidating the traditional institution into supporting him. Earlier, he had accused Governor Abiodun of sabotaging his visits to some traditional rulers. Now, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has reassured traders in Igbo-dominated markets of peaceful coexistence and security if re-elected. Sanwo-Olu's campaign tour moved to the Auto Spare Part and Machinery Dealers Association, ASPAMDA, at the Trade Fair Complex, Ojo. He also met with an amalgamation of Igbo traders across 58 major markets under the aegis of Ndiwa Amaka Progressive Markets Association. The governor also interacted with traders at the Computer Village in Ikeja. Now, some sections of the Akere automobile parts market in the Olojapapa area of Lagos State have been razed by fire. The fire reportedly started around 3 a.m. today. In a statement, Director of Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, Adesheye Margaret, said the cause of the inferno has not been ascertained. Now, Margaret said a male adult was discovered by police officers around the scene of the incident. Moving now to other parts of the continent, a passenger train has derailed in northern Cairo, killing at least 2 people and injuring a further 16. At least 20 ambulances were dispatched to the scene and the injured transferred to nearby hospitals. A ministry statement said the injured were in a stable condition. The derailing happened as the train was traveling through the city of Kolyab on its way to the city of Menaf in the Nile Delta. Moving outside Africa now. Fuel deliveries have been blocked from all French refineries as protesters again took to the street over government plans to raise the pension age from 62 to 64. Now, Tuesday marked the 6th day of strikes and protests since mid-January, and trade unions said it would be the biggest yet. Now, most train and metro services were cancelled and many schools closed. Police estimated between 1.1 million and 1.4 million would be taking part in the 260 protests highlighted by the unions. In business news now, telecom operators say they have started the implementation of the harmonized short codes across networks pursuant to a regulatory modernization initiative of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. Now, the Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators of Nigeria, ALTEN, said the harmonization of short codes is aimed at implementing a streamlined process for common short codes across the industry by making life easier for Nigerians. The Commission said it has provided adequate time for subscribers to get used to these new developments. Now, Alton said during the migration, which is to be concluded by May the 17th, old and new common codes will run concurrently, after which the old codes would cease to operate. The harmonization of short code entails making the common short codes utilized by customers to be uniform across networks. Entertainment news now. Ex-Strictly judge Dame Darcy Bobo, DBE, will become the first female chair of the Board of Trustees at the Theatre Royal Plymouth. Dame Darcy, who was principal of the Royal Ballet for nearly 20 years, will take over from Nick Buckland, OBE. She said she and her husband had established a new base in Plymouth over the last few months. Now, the former judge on BBC's Strictly Come Dancing said she first danced at the theatre 30 years ago. Dame Darcy thanked Buckland, who stepped down after 13 years, for his exceptional leadership, which had taken the theatre on a bold and ambitious path to augment its position as one of the country's leading theatres. And finally, in sports news, the Los Angeles Lakers honored two-time NBA champion Paul Gasol on Tuesday, retiring his number 16 jersey at the Crypto.com arena in California. The Spaniard found success with the Lakers after being traded there in 2008, winning championships in 2009 and 2010, and forming a formidable partnership with Kobe Bryant. Gasol's jersey was hung in the rafters right beside Bryant's number 8 and 24, while Bryant's widow, Vanessa, was also in attendance for the ceremony. And that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on Limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Coronavirus, a word which became popular in our vocabulary in 2019. But scientists and medical experts tell us human coronaviruses were first identified in the mid-1960s, meaning it has existed for years, centuries even. The World Health Organization, WHO, on March 11, 2020, declared the novel coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak a global pandemic. The first known case was in China, and there were reports that the virus originated from wildlife sold at the Wuhan market. Over 6 million lives were lost to COVID all around the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the Ministry of Health confirmed its first case of the novel coronavirus on the 28th of February 2020. The aftermath of the pandemic has changed the way we live, the way we do businesses, the way we work, and the way we relate with people. There has been a good and not so good side to this pandemic, but in all, it impacted the entire world.
I think for me, and I guess for many other people, it was the hugest shock of the decade, because suddenly what you call normalcy disappears. Even the regular attempt at just moving out of your house is fiercely restrained. First, there was we had to start learning what to fear and what not to. And then for many of us, it was house arrest, whether or not you liked it. It's not what we want to hastily remember. We just know, like somebody humorously stated, that it's one of those years I didn't use, so I cannot add it to my age.
How I felt, the prevailing emotion during the pandemic, I was scared. During the pandemic, I was scared. When it first started, I was scared. I was scared because of when I turned on the television, I see the number of people who are sick or dying. It was very scary, when it first started. The fact that I couldn't go out, I couldn't go to work as I would normally do, even though I would work remotely. I couldn't go to work, I couldn't go out, I couldn't go to places, I couldn't go to church, I couldn't do anything. It just made me feel trapped.
So I think I must confess that it was one of those most rewarding eras or times for me, because I am very, very introverted. And so I'm one of those who, if I chose to stay indoors for 90 days straight, I would throw mental parties. It didn't have the sort of popular impacts it did on others who were practically scared of their own shadows through that time.
COVID-19 was a global pandemic. Everybody was affected directly or indirectly. I'm not an exception. We were greatly affected, but thank God we didn't lose any life in the family. Everybody came out of it stronger and better. The COVID actually had its positive side, which I would look at as rediscovering who you are and giving the best of who you are to the society.
I'm a legal practitioner by practice. My profession is legal practice. So at that period of COVID-19, many courts were not sitting. In as much as the lockdown brought some good, it also bedeviled certain professions.
For like a month, there was a lockdown. So the economy was shut down. So it affected me. And I believe it affects everybody.
By the grace of God, I didn't run out of COVID. Even though I'm working, I work with federal government. So I didn't run out of. But notwithstanding, what about other relatives who are depending on us? We were not able to stretch out help towards them. So definitely, if it's not affecting me, it affects most of my relatives.
Then I was overseeing a school, an international school. Our salaries were were not halved, we were just paid like the basic of. So it was a terrible time. It was a terrible time.
So we should give the people. That is how they ask people to start home. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, I certainly saw the impact of COVID around me economically, and I think it was the first time my wife and I had to sit to say, truly, there's an immense need to be grateful to God, and it was largely because we started getting calls from those who had to live from hand to mouth, whose income was strictly daily, and if they didn't do anything daily, then lunch was, threatened, dinner was, had to go on leave and the likes.
I remember this particular woman, very distinct. She stood out among the other people. She came in and she said that she has like 3 kids or 4 kids, so I can't actually remember the number, and they haven't eaten in days.
I think one of the things I learned, or a number of things I learned during COVID, I would just list them in no particular sequence, is that I think one of the first thing is to understand your fears. There was just a cloud of fear that queried logic, even when you knew to well that this doesn't make sense, but you just have to do it. I remember standing in the queue in the pharmacy, and this guy went paranoid. You're standing too close to my child. You're standing too close to my child. And I'm a medical personnel, and I was wondering, Oga, calm down. You don't even understand what this is. And you're already paranoid. Over 6 feet and the likes of those kind of instructions that we were given. All of us had to learn and relearn health habits. I just recently, I remember being amused because I attempted sneezing and I quickly reached for my elbow and I said, how this hasn't disappeared, after almost 18 months, 20 months after that episode. So a good number of us had to learn some of the things that are very helpful today. We had to grow some degree of intimate familiarity with masks. A number of people who would never have used masks in their lives now, cling to them very fiercely.
I believe people would do what they are supposed to do when pushed, when pressed, even though it's the right thing. During COVID, usually you're supposed to cover your mouth, your nose when sneezing with your elbow. You're supposed to wash your hands regularly. It's something it's basic hygiene. But a lot of us didn't imbibe that. Now, post-COVID, whether or not establishments decide to maintain the culture of using a mask or continue to put a wash bowl and detergent or, liquid soap for you to wash your hand or not, your hygiene should be your priority. It just goes back to what I said earlier on, that's what COVID has taught. Your health is very important, and hygiene is also something that you should take very seriously.
I think to expect a cure for a COVID would be to demand of nature too much. And I say that because it arrived and it met on the stage illnesses like HIV, malaria, and these, to the best of our knowledge, only have palliative options, not cure, not outright cure. So I think with every phase of humanity would come an epidemic like this that helps us reshape our perspectives.
Since the beginning of this campaign, Jando and Funke have rigorously traversed all wards in Lagos State, from Ikorodu to Badagry, Ekpe to Alimosho, seeking to know the true state of our state and where the shoe really pinches. They visited the riverine communities and places that have never been visited before by any governorship candidate in the history of Lagos politics. Funke's market storm is also the first of its kind by a deputy governorship candidate. Lagos. There's so much work to do. It is time to give the man who knows Lagos and can birth a breath of fresh air the chance to lead. Vote Dr. Abdulaziz Olajide Adediran Jandor as Governor of Lagos State. PDP! Power to the people!
You wanted to have a career in fashion. When I was taken to Portobello Road Market in London when I was about 10 or 12 years old, and there was all these colourful characters everywhere dressing up, and I saw very quickly the reaction and the way that they made me feel, and I wanted to have a part of that. I think there's a level of escapism within the fashion industry, and it's a chance to put feathers on and dress up and escape maybe from your day-to-day life. Yeah.
For photography and beauty, Linda asked if I would do her makeup for this photo shoot. So, of course, I was beyond thrilled, and I said that I would do it. I mean, after all, I've done her makeup over the years, kind of on the side, learning my craft along the way, and I'm going to be honest with you. There were a lot of messy attempts at learning that perfect smoky eye. Trust me, terrible. But after Linda's shoot, Christian complimented me on my work, and he asked if I would be interested in working with him from time to time.
Before I, introduce her, she's such an amazing person, such a vibrant personality. She's one of us. She's the first West African woman to be a style editor at Elle magazine. Her style has been described as eccentric, classy, and fashionable. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Nikki Ogonaike. Nikki, welcome. Thank you.
What does style mean to me? Style is inspiration. It is, and style is a portrait of who you are as a person. So when you put on your clothing every day, you're telling the world something. And so here I'm telling the world with this outfit that I like colors and I like vibrancy, and I'm excited to be here.
So what am I telling the world about?
I think you're telling me the same thing.
Okay.
The yellow is nice. So, I think that fashion and style is just inspired by what you see in the world via Instagram, via Snapchat, and also through fashion magazines and websites.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on up, just turn around.
No, Waki, you have to model for us.
Okay, she's modeling for us, and so I guess I'm gonna weigh in on my sister's outfit, which I love. Doesn't she look good? Can we get a round of applause for Lola? Oh, come on. Thank you. So as a fashion expert, this is what I'm weighing in on. I think Lola looks amazing. She's figured out a way to use a traditional sort of silhouette, wear white, which is nice and airy, but she added her own sort of sense of style with this belt. And I love it. And I think she got these shoes in Nigeria when we were just here. So she's mixing, American fashion with Nigerian fashion. Okay, everyone give them a round of applause. Okay, work it, so work it. Hey.
There you go.
But she paired it with a nice sort of top, and so it's like a menswear inspired top. And this is an example of how to do menswear and women's wear, but with African accessories, which is really great to see. The mix is genius.
"60 Minutes with Angela" starts right now.
Now, these are interesting times in the Federal Republic of Nigeria as Nigerians proceed to the presidential elections scheduled to hold on the 20th day of February in 2023. What manner of persons should we be seeking to elect into public offices? Are Nigerians ready for those, perhaps, in the private sector moving in to the public sector? In fact, are Nigerians ready for the consequences of having people from a more structured private sector coming into public service? Well, he was a technocrat in public office. Toye Arulogun, former Commissioner for Information in Oyo State, the Southwest Geopolitical. So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, PlusTvAfrica, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
60 Minutes with Angela starts right now.
In the Federal Republic of Nigeria, presidential campaigns are heating up and presidential candidates are declaring what they are all proposing to do different. And in the last couple of weeks, the presidential candidate of Nigeria's main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, who incidentally happens to be a former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, has been engaging with various interest groups in his bid to become Nigeria's 16th president in 2023. But one major reservation about an Atiku presidency is his stance on privatization. In other words, a President Atiku, many people fear, will sell Nigeria's most prized public infrastructure to his friends and allies. But will he? Well, Dr. Mustapha Abiodun Akinkumi, a director at the Center for International Policy Studies, CIPS, at Fordham University in New York City, joins me on the program today. Coming on the program with me today, Mr. Akinkumi.
Thank you.
So, I'm just looking at you and I remember you. I remember your face. Yourself, Folikoka, I think you were finance commissioner. Folikoka was tourism. Engineer Muberiola was transport.
Correct.
And 3 of you were the commissioners serving under Governor Akinwumi Ambode. You're all fired in October 2016. I thought, okay, did he inherit you or did he appoint you?
He appointed me.
Was it a shock?
It wasn't a shock, but look, it's politics.
Yes.
you got to move on. But the beauty behind it is that I was given the opportunity to serve Lagos State.
Yes.
And I did a tremendous amount of work. I was able to restructure Lagos State's debts,
Yes.
which gave Lagos State another opportunity to go more into the markets.
Yes.
I was able to save the state 40 billion. I paid a lot of I paid the state debts. I renegotiated the Ikoyi-Lekki Bridge.
Right.
That become controversial today.
Yeah.
So I put in, it was a 1 year of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to have public sector experience, if you know what I mean.
Especially you coming from a private sector
Absolutely.
and lecturing in the New York University. So how then did you move from working with an Ambode and the APC to being with the PDP and with an Atiku Abubakar? I mean, why, when there's no real ideological difference between the two parties? How did you make that transition?
Have you ever met Mr. Atiku Abubakar?
No.
You should. There's major ideological differences. I've befriended a man, it's over a decade. He's a great Nigerian, great man. And I was recruited to teach at the university. It has nothing to do with it.
Yes.
I was recruited by the American University in Washington, D.C.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Okay, so you're lecturing in American University in Yola.
Yola.
It's not because
has absolutely nothing to do with him. I didn't know him then. I didn't know him. I never met him. I was recruited out of New York City. I had my interview in Washington. It's purely on merit.
Right.
And purely on merit. In fact, when they hired me to teach at the School of Technology. So I taught computer science. I mean, my first master's is in computer science, and I wrote software for the most part of my life.
Yes.
And in fact, I studied my doctorate in computer science, then later on moved on to social sciences, went back and get a master's,
yes.
Another PhD in economics. Yes. So I didn't know Mr. Atiku Abubakar, I didn't know anything about Nigeria, and I was doing my thing and teaching and developing quants on Wall Street. Yes. And I just wanted to move back. New York City did not chase me with it. It was just purely
a desire to come home.
It was just, I think it was just youth exorbitant. Let me go to Nigeria. Let me
experience Nigeria.
It's really that was it. I didn't thoroughly think it through. And maybe if I thought if a good process was put into it, I may not have made that decision. But then, in hindsight, I'm glad I did.
Yes.
At least I made Mr. Atiku Abubakar.
Okay, so because I'm thinking it's a little bit awkward. So how did you move from APC to PDP?
Well, I must say that I'm not a member of any political party.
Right.
We were asked to join APC when I was appointed, and I joined, and I resigned.
When you left as
commissioner.
Yes.
You see, it's very and that's what I encourage you to meet Mr. Atiku Abubakar.
Yeah.
It's really tough, really difficult if you know the man, not to like him and not to believe in what he has for Nigeria. I'm just going to touch on the very critical issue today, which is poverty. Yeah. And the report came out that 133 million Nigerians are poor. And that is significant, and it should not be ignored. And when you listen to Mr. Atiku Abubakar, and the man that says that the centerpiece of his economic policy is poverty and job creation, that's my guy. Once again, the centerpiece of his economic policy is poverty reduction and job creation. So this man, more or less we have only three candidates.
Yes.
Mr. Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Mr. Peter Obi.
Yes.
And I've read I mean, Obi has not published his
Manifesto,
manifesto. I've read Mr. Ahmed Bola Tinubu's manifesto. It's a lot of stories, but you cannot really get him in terms of commitments of this is how I'm going to do it, this is the output of what I will do. This is the output of what I plan to do.
Yes.
But on the Atiku side, it tells me this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is the output.
Let me just stop you there, because you're talking about poverty, and I'm wondering what will be the major difference between what an Atiku Abubakar presidency will bring to the table on poverty that will be different from this administration. I mean, I've spoken with a lot of ministers in this administration. They say President Buhari plans to move 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. Will Atiku leverage on that, or is he going to vitiate that plan and institute a fresh plan?
Look, President Buhari plans to move poverty, to reduce poverty in the next 10 years. We already spent 7 years, and poverty is increasing. There are some things that President Buhari is doing, which is the cash transfer. It's about 3.1% to the GDP.
Yes.
Atiku Abubakar plans to increase that to 7% of GDP. And I will talk about that.
Yes.
But before I go any further, I work with numbers, no emotions.
Yes.
Where was Nigeria in 1997, 98, 99? Before Obasanjo Atiku government took over. Bad economy. Poverty was high. Nigeria was not good in the international community.
Yes.
Was the day Abacha just passed, there was a fear in the land. Abu Salam took over and he arranged the election. Obasanjo Atiku won the election. Within 8 years, many of us, I was in New York City, many of us started thinking about Nigeria. We all moved to Nigeria. Obasanjo Atiku made that possible. Numbers started improving. They paid off the debt. They paid off Nigerian debt. And guess what? Atiku Abubakar was in charge of the economic policy, economic group, constitutionally.
Yes.
Then, they hand over the power to Yar'Adua. The poor guy passed away a year, 2 years into the government. Then we had Jonathan. So we all remember Jonathan, was a little bit careless. And all of us wanted Jonathan out. And I did not support Buhari. I never did. Because I experienced Buhari as a student. And the policy that he made, because when my father, of blessed memory, made a conscious effort to send me to school in New York, he did that based on the income he was getting from some of his rental income.
Yes.
Naira depreciated. It became difficult for him to do that. That was under Buhari's administration as the military ruler. So when people talk about Atiku Abubakar, I said, follow history. Look at his performance. Look at what he has done. What he did with his boss. And he was, constitutionally, was in charge of the economy.
Yes.
So that should be credited to him. Now, Buhari came. I don't need to tell you about the numbers. You know the numbers. Many of us are even more poorer now than when Buhari took over. They're here today. So what's Atiku going to do different? He has poverty on 4 pillars. And they are capability enhancement. Some of it Buhari is doing right now, which is a cash transfer.
Right.
Atiku planned on moving cash transfer from 3.1% of GDP to 7% of GDP and increase the spread.
What will be the side effect of that? And I'm asking you that because, If Atiku is thinking of increasing it to 7%, why isn't this administration increasing it to 7%? People, economists will always tell you there are always two answers. There are always two sides to every story. Will there be a downside after increasing that to 7%?
No, you haven't let me finish. Okay. In addition to that, we are going to empower women. Women they manage economic resources better than some of us men, shamefully. So those women that cannot leave their homes as a result of social issues, we're going to empower them. There's a strong correlation between human capital, which is education and health, and poverty. When you improve education and health, poverty reduces. We're going to stimulate the economy, and stimulating that economy, GDP goes up, get more people back to work, training, having more artisans, because that's really, it's not everyone. There are quite significant of people that their education level is below secondary school. So let's get them skills. And in all this, the principle behind Atiku economic policy are one, private sector participation, removing government from where they don't belong. Because right now, government is in monopoly of a lot of private industries, and stabilize prices. Right. That is why it's constantly reaching out to the private sector. And that goes back to the first, your introduction of that is selling government enterprises to his friends.
Yes. Because he's engaged in the last couple of weeks, the Nigerian Guild of Editors, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Lagos Business School, and the sum total of everything he's talked about there is privatization, bringing in the private sector. There's a palpable fear out there that Atiku Abubakar is going to sell Nigeria's prized public infrastructure to all his friends and allies. And people are basing this on allegations made by his principal, the former president Obasanjo, and so when people keep hearing him talking about this privatization, it raises suspicion. Is this what he's coming back to do? To sell off everything to himself and his friends?
In 2018, 2019, when Mr. Chukwuka came out about NNPC, he made the headline. He said, oh, he's going to sell the NNPC to his friends and families. Fast forward, isn't that what APC just did? But they didn't even do it well. They didn't do it well. Because NNPC, when you privatize, you take it to the market.
It's still not been taken.
It's not taken to the market, so they don't even understand. This man said, look, I'm going to privatize NNPC. And there's the X amount, significant amount of money that will come to Nigeria, and that will take care of our infrastructure deficits. It will take care of our education, our health. The same thing is said.
Yes.
Fast forward, 2022, they did it. But they didn't even do it well. Mr. Aliko Dangote has started his own refinery from ground zero. He has launched it.
Yes.
He's about to go into production. If government had left Kaduna Refinery, don't you think Kaduna Refinery would be refining by now?
Yes.
So we have to be very careful when we are criticizing. What's those assets? What good is it to the government right now? What good is it to the government? The government is spending more resources to keep them alive, and that is where Mr. Chukwuka is moving towards. Let's have smaller federal governments. Let's push a lot of resources back to the states. Let's get the private sector involved. Let's get the economy running. Let's create jobs.
All right. Join us again after the break. Welcome back. The National Bureau of Statistics report on poverty, I want to give you a quote from that. In general, the incidence of monetary poverty is lower than the incidence of multidimensional poverty across most states. 40.1% of the population experiencing monetary poverty, while multidimensional poverty is 63%. And this is according to the Monetary Policy Institute. This is 2022. So what is the difference? What is monetary poverty? What is multidimensional poverty?
Monetary poverty is very clear. You don't have money.
Okay.
You don't have a job. There's no income. Money. Multidimensional is deeper. Lack of access to sanitation, clean water, school, road network, health.
That's why that one is more, 63%.
So for significant of Nigeria today, there's poor health facilities. I'm still buying water.
Yes.
Lagos State is not giving me water. The education system in my local government is quite poor.
Healthcare?
Healthcare. God help you, go to General Hospital. I think the closest healthcare place for me is the General Hospital in Lagos Island. I went there once. It's horrible.
So, still on the economy, this CBN's redesign of the Naira note, is he supportive of it? Does he think that Nigeria needs to redesign the Naira at this particular time?
I can't remember having a discussion with him on the redesign of the Naira, but I don't think it matters to him. It doesn't matter to me either. I don't think there's any...
When you say it doesn't matter to you, I mean, there have been arguments pro and con on that.
Let me explain.
Yes.
What I mean by that is that there's really no... It doesn't have any effects on the end of the economic indices. However, we have bigger problem than currency design today. We have huge challenges. The mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria is price stability. Inflation is off the hook. Interest rate is high.
Our inflation is in double digits now.
It's double digits, increasing by the day. So, is it Naira design or price stability?
Okay, my business sense is not very good, but the argument put forth is that this inflation, one of the causes of it is because so much money is not within the system. The CBN has printed so much money, but the actual monies in the banks is less than half. So I've been told that if people were hoarding monies under, the ground and in cemeteries and so on, if they bring that money back into the banking system, it will drive inflation down.
Look, I don't want to be, I can't tell you that I believe this story. But once again, I will ask you a straight question. When last did you held the Naira? When last? I'm sure you do transfer.
Yes.
Significant of the population. CBN has done well in promoting electronic payments. I can't remember last time I have any Naira bill. I can't remember.
But aren't you seeing those videos and pictures of monies with 2003 dates on them, disintegrating? Surely
Angela,
that must be a good...
Angela, you know better than I mean, there's so much going on in the internet nowadays. It's not all the videos and all the stories on the internet that you want to believe. I think, in my opinion, we have bigger issue with the design of the Naira. People are poor. Inflation is high. The kids don't have a job. These are real issues. Do you know how many people get into the workforce yearly in Nigeria? 5 million people. and only 10% of them that we can absorb. So what happens to the 4.5 million people? This redesign is only going to affect the poor, the unbanked. So we are even putting more pain on the poor. So when you redesign the Naira, it's them that are affected, not the rich ones. Because the rich they bought all the houses in highbrow areas.
And they have foreign currency as well.
So really, is that the issue we should be discussing? Or should we, I think we should be discussing the poverty issue. We should be discussing job creation. We should be discussing stabilizing the economy. We should be discussing creating jobs for the youth.
Now, as far as this economy is concerned, the APC had promised in their change mantra, one of the things that they pushed forward was diversification of the economy. We've seen the Buhari administration, I hope you will agree with me, they've done a lot as far as agriculture is concerned. Is Atiku Abubakar going to continue along that trajectory? If not, what are his plans to diversify the economy?
First of all, Atiku, I'm not even going to bother to address APC because we all know the result is very clear today. After 7 years, we are poorer, no jobs, no growth, right? But what's Atiku going to do differently? And that is what, again, is 5-point agenda, and they are interrelated. What is 5-point agenda?
Yes.
Unity, because we are disunited today. Security, stimulating the economy, education, and restructuring. All these are related, dynamically related. If you don't have security, food stock can't come from the north.
Yes.
A lot of people are being displaced. Prices goes up. If we're not united, we cannot work together. And the economy we cannot stimulate the economy. You need the education to be able to stimulate. We need that human capital. It's very important. And all this 5 agenda of Atiku,
yes,
very thought out. Those 5-point agenda are based on 3 basic principles.
Which are?
Atiku said 1, I'm going to get away from government monopoly. So anything, rail, refinery, wherever government owns a monopoly, I'm going to get away from it.
Transmission Company of Nigeria?
I'm going to get, it's a monopoly. Let every state have their own transmit their power. I'm going to get private sector. I'm going to partner with the private sector to help me stimulate this economy. Because government can't do it alone. Government can't create the jobs. Atiku is looking to lift 10 million Nigerians out of poverty yearly and create 3 million jobs. And lastly, Atiku said he would have price stability. Having one single window on the monetary side. Right now we have multiple windows. One single window. Private sector involvement and government moving away from monopoly.
I'm wondering, if Atiku is saying I'm going to have one, this is my problem with economists.
Yeah.
When you sit with one,
yes,
he tells you that, oh no, go this way. And you sit with another one, he says go this way.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You are saying now you do with one exchange rate.
Yes. You converge everything to one. And you float it. You managed it. Why should you have multiple exchange rates? Some well-connected Nigerians who buy it at the low price and sell it at isn't that what they call it, round tripping? Why should we have that? Why should we have all these rent seekers in the economy at the expense of 133 million poor Nigerians. Let's focus on those poor Nigerians. And that is why I find Mr. Atiku Abubakar attractive.
Atiku is not poor.
No. You're not listening to me.
I'm
No, you're not listening to me.
I'm listening.
No, you're not listening to me.
Let me tell you why I'm saying that.
I'm talking about his policy.
Yes, no. And I'm telling you that being not a poor man,
No.
when he gets there, they always say these things.
No.
I've covered elections 2011, 2015, 2019. They always have lofty ideals.
But you and I started this discussion today, and I took you back to 1997, 98, 99, when Obasanjo took over the government, where Nigeria was until they left the government. The data speak. His record is clear. It was right there. So what is the ambiguity there? The man has done it before. He has negotiated Nigeria debt, paid off. He has improved Nigerian GDP. He created more jobs, more sectors were more active. So what are we talking about? The man has done it before. So it's not your typical politician that comes and gives you a story. What we are going through now, it's nothing new. We've been here before.
The state of the economy you're talking about.
Yes, state of the economy. That's what matters. What else? That's what matters. And that is what is going to take the 133 million Nigerians out of poverty. Nowadays, we have kids graduating from university and they're still living at their parents' house. The last time I slept at my father's house was after when I left secondary school of my O levels.
That's a long time.
That was a long time ago. By the time I finished uni, I had n number of companies. They've given me an offer letter. Some even gave me offer letter with a sign-on bonus in those days. Or they used the sign-on bonus for down payment to buy my first car. My first brand new car in those days.
Okay, so how would you convince someone who's an obedient to move from following Peter Obi? Because you know, Peter Obi and Atiku were together. Many people who supported them together, who are dissatisfied with the PDP for giving the ticket to a northerner again, have moved with Peter Obi.
Look, this is very simple. This is very straightforward. And I always encourage the obedience. I said, look, I know thinking hurts, but try and think a little bit. You know, I've explained Atiku's presidency to you and where Nigeria was in 1997, 98, 99 until Obasanjo Atiku completed their term. Now I'm going to go to Obi. Yes. Obi was governor of Anambra. I remember Obi was governor. I have a couple of friends that were from the East. I couldn't go to the East with them to celebrate Christmas. That's number one. Number two, unemployment was high. Poverty was in Anambra. But Obi took government's money and invested in his own company.
Yes, but government
Let me finish.
Government made a profit.
Let me finish. Anywhere else in the world is unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. And everybody accepted it, and we're all moving on. Took the government's money. That's the height of corruption. Took the government's money and invested in your own private business. Meanwhile, you have high unemployment, challenges with schools, health, road network. I could not remember when Obi was governor, people leaving Lagos to move back to Anambra. And you now use their money in your own private business.
You saved money.
You saved money.
Yes.
While your people are hungry, you saved money in your own private business. It's a height of corruption. Meanwhile, it did not create the jobs. It did not create the opportunities. And come on, let's think about this. Let's be very careful about this. Let's be very, yes, he's a great salesman. He can talk the talk. And I get it with the young people. They are frustrated. They are hopeless. So anyone that can
give a little bit of hope.
Hope and stories. I gotta give it to him. He's doing a good job at it.
Does he threaten Atiku's campaign at all?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Join us again after the break. Welcome back. And now that we're talking about threats to the ambition of Atiku Abubakar, is the PDP worried about the threat of incumbency that the APC holds?
Angela, seriously?
Yes.
How? Let me explain. All the macro indices are against APC today. Poverty has increased. So why would I vote a political party that has increased poverty? How? Why should I do that? Poverty has increased. No jobs. We have, on the average of 5 million people to the workforce, we can only absorb 10%.
The party is fighting hard.
Of course. But I think Nigerians know better. I think Nigerians know better. Yeah, I expect them to fight hard. But look, when they took the government, took over the government,
yes.
What was the exchange rate? What is it today? What was rent? What was it today? You can look at all the macro indices. You know.
Where does Atiku stand on subsidy? He said at the Lagos Business School alumni conference that he would phase out subsidy in batches and he would channel those funds back into the economy. We've been there before. We've heard all these explanations. But when they get in, this subsidy, they can't remove it because the option is fuel shortage.
Subsidy is gone. APC has removed it. The new NNPC, what they are doing right now is illegal. Subsidy is illegal. It's illegal. You should go and read the petroleum
PIB, Petroleum Industry Bill Act. It's not an act now. Yes.
It's illegal. Subsidy is gone. There's no point discussing it. Subsidy is gone.
So we're paying more now because there's
no. The government should not be should have removed it. What the government is doing right now is illegal. There's no longer subsidy. It's illegal.
When you say it's illegal, the transforming NNPC into a private company.
Correct.
It's illegal.
No. Yeah, no. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. The subsidy itself is illegal today because it's part of the Petroleum
Industry Act has vitiated it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's illegal. So don't even what Mr. Abubakar is saying is a lie. In fact, the federal government said they will operationalize it next year.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not up for discussion anymore. Yeah.
So the NNPC, in any case, it was Atiku's idea back then to privatize. So
Absolutely.
we're there now, but you still say there's still a little bit more to do.
Oh, a lot more to do. I think what they should have done, they should have just knocked on his door and asked him for Mr. PlusTvAfrica to tutor them on what to do.
I want to tell you what the Director General of Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, whom I interviewed previously, he says that as plausible as the idea of private sector partnership is, Atiku Abubakar's proposition is more or less preparing the grounds for rent seekers and scanty industrialists. He goes on to say, what Atiku is proposing is by no means different from the structural adjustment policy thrust. Neither is his proposal on the NNPC Limited better than the giant steps that President Muhammadu Buhari has taken towards commercializing of NNPC.
He clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. We are moving, we're getting private sector involved. Private sector is going out to the market to raise money and not the enterprise. There's the rent seeking there. Of course, if you keep everything as status quo, that's the rent seeking.
Yes.
So he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, so it's been 6 years since you posited that Nigeria's Northeast had the potential to become the tech hub of Nigeria. This was at the 8th commencement.
Oh, you read it?
Yes, ceremony of class of 2016 at the American University in Yola. You proposed, you were talking about the kind of Silicon Valley with the university at the center of it.
Correct.
Now that you're living here, you still think it's feasible?
Absolutely. Look, let me tell you something. You know, Mr. Atiku Abubakar founded American University. And some people think he should have put the university in Abuja, Lagos. People have made money, so they look at it in terms of the monetary side.
Yes.
But Mr. Atiku Abubakar looked at it differently. He wanted the school in the States, and I'm sure he could see the economic growth. So when I went to Yola, which has absolutely nothing to do with him, because American University in Washington hired me.
Yes.
The main road in Yola was a dual road.
2 lanes.
2 lanes. It was like a little village. Fast forward today, it's 4 lanes. There's been growth. There are more, if you go to Yola now, the plane is full. In and out of Yola, there's a lot of activities. Yes. Fast forward while I was there, by the way, the entire campus is wired. So
when you say wired, Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi. And we conduct our teaching electronically in classroom. All the students have the computers, and even we, the academic community as well.
Yes.
So we do use the internet significantly. And Google in particular was looking for some wisdom was best to them. They were looking for the highest hits out of Africa. They pointed at Nigeria and down to the place called Yola.
Yeah.
They came to Yola. They were shocked that there was so much, Google search out of Yola. As a result, we gave some scholarship and grants to the American University. Wow. So American University in the last decade have produced very fine engineers, computer scientists. And I believe, there's been a bit of delay as a result of the economic condition of the country. But I still believe that a lot of our students will graduate from Yola, and some are doing that right now, and they will stay in Yola. They will be entrepreneur, technology entrepreneur in Yola, and develop Yola. more important in the Northeast. And I still believe that. I think that is still coming. And we could see what some of this, a lot of young Nigerians have done in terms of technology. We've done a lot in technology, we've done a lot in arts and culture, in music. So there's a lot of room to grow. We just need that strong leadership that would allow free thinking, private entrepreneur to survive. I mean, the condition today, it's makes it very difficult, and I believe it's just a temporary delay.
Yes.
You just have to storm through the weather, and things will get back on track.
You've talked about how hard times are right now in Nigeria. I can't help thinking that, isn't it global? Is every country not experiencing some kind of downturn? And isn't this an exponential result of events that have happened since COVID hit in 2019?
It doesn't apply to us in Nigeria. Look, we did not benefit from the oil price, increase in oil price, which we should have, and we didn't benefit from that because of our lack of investment in the oil and gas sector. And more importantly today, with the Russian-Ukraine war, if we were forward thinking, we would be the country
main beneficiaries
of the gas exports. The unrest in the northeast and in the north affected food prices and food security. If we have tackled Boko Haram and displacement of people from their farms, we will not be facing price increase. So the global issue has absolutely nothing to do with us. However, the climate change, we have no control over of that. In some parts of the south and some parts of the north, in the climate change, whereby some of the lands are becoming more deserts, and in the southern parts there are the flooding issues. So, and of course of the gas flaring and the oil and gas challenges in the south side of the country. So we have our own issue, but we should have benefited from the global economic challenges. It has absolutely, it's a good excuse for our economic managers. They should have done their job. That's what they lash on. But it has nothing to do with us.
One of my crew members doesn't want to vote for Atiku because he says Atiku is a northerner and that voting for Atiku would mean 16 unbroken years of a northern presidency.
Look, I'm a Yoruba man, I'm a Yoruba Muslim. And I've never seen that northerners in Atiku. I think, in fact, Atiku is more of a Lagos boy
than a northerner.
His wife, Auntie Titi, she's a Yoruba woman of Osun State. It's true that there are some of my friends, they have Yoruba. So I think, and beyond that, the Atiku's doctor of how many years, Dr. Ndukwe, great man, he's an Igbo man.
His personal physician.
Personal physician, he's been with him for over 20 years. You cannot see Mr. Atiku Abubakar, you don't see Mr. Ndukwe. So Atiku is a nationalist. So, in terms of when we are now talking about ethnicity, it does not apply to him at all. It does not apply to him at all.
It's the same way the APC candidates will say, my wife is a Christian. In my house, everybody's free.
Atiku Abubakar is even more Yoruba than some of us. His wife, Atiku, is Yoruba. So what are we talking about? In fact, why are we even dealing with ethnicity when we have poverty? Does poverty has cultural or religious bias? Let's deal with issues. Let's create jobs. Let's reduce poverty.
And I can't help thinking, listening to you with, all these lofty ideas that the Atiku economic team has put together. For you to implement these policies, you need to win the election.
Yes.
And I don't see how he will win that election.
He will win the election.
Without the G5 and without the River State governor involved. That's the thing. You see, so we talk all this economy, but you need to win first before you can do all these things you want to do. How is Atiku going to handle this wiki G5? Because as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Akin, I always thought that this election was Atiku's to win or lose. But he seems to be losing momentum, or he has lost momentum because of this imbroglio in the PDP.
Look, the issue, I'm not qualified to talk about the issue of Wike and the policies of it, but I know it's a family affair. They will sort themselves out.
Are you confident?
Oh yeah, who's the next president?
You say that without equivocation.
I've moved beyond that. He's the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God. I've moved beyond that. He's the next president. The issue with Wike and the other G5 is a family affair. They'll sort it out. I don't subscribe to all the videos, the abusive words, and it's totally
all that violence is
totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
Gentlemen should be able such. I think they will resolve it.
Right. So we now know that the candidate of the NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, I think is Atiku's friend. I'm not sure, but there were rumors that he was going to be stepping down. He's come out now in the last 24 hours to say no. I'm not stepping down. So all those rumors have come to naught. Does that upset the plans of the PDP? People say that the PDP was relying on Kwankwaso stepping down, subsuming his campaign organization into that of the PDP for the benefit of Atiku.
Angela, I'm not privileged to this political discussion, negotiation.
Yes.
I'm not privileged to all that. What I'm passionate about is poverty reduction, job creation. Let's get the economic moving. Let's get people back to work. Let's create 3 million jobs per year. Let's take 10 million poor people out of poverty.
Yes.
So by 2030, we will have reduced poverty in this country to less than 20%.
Yes.
That is my interest. All the political intrigues, it's, I think they will, I'm not a politician, they will sort themselves out.
Yes.
But the key thing is to improve lives. Let's get Nigerians working. Let's get Nigerians happy. Let's stabilize prices. Let's get CBN working. Let Nigerians be happy. Let our youth be happy. That's my interest.
I hope I'll be back as the campaigns hot up a bit more.
I'm here.
Thank you very much for spending an hour with me today, Mr. Akin. And thank you for watching. I'm Angela Ajitumobi.
know that Akin Lewis graduated with a first-class degree in acting and directing?
People don't know that I read drama. Actually, I have a master's degree, first class, in acting and directing.
Did you know that Akin Lewis has been in the acting profession for 49 years?
When we started acting, drama as it were, there was no money in it. Now, this is my 49th year. There was no money in it.
Did you know that Akin Lewis has been married twice?
What, you remarried? Oh, yes, I remarried. Yes, you know, I told you I'm stable now. Calm waters, sailing. Yeah, I remarried. And I have a beautiful daughter, your father. Now, what's her name? Oba.
Did you know that Akin Lewis was almost killed during the inter-ethnic massacre preceding the Civil War?
When the pogrom started, you know that thing that led to the Civil War? Yes. I was almost killed. Matter of fact, I was killed. I was almost killed. But in the mind of the fellow who did it, he killed me already. Yeah, because what they did was, you know, as it is, I was a lot lighter, and then I have this mark. And then, so I passed easily for an Igbo boy.
Wow.
And that's what they didn't bother to find out. This mark, which I got from a broken bottle.
I was going to say, how did that
I fell into the gutter years before. And so that I healed. My father said you shouldn't stitch it. And I saw that my eye hair. So, but when they saw it now, they thought I was evil.
Did you know that Akin Lewis is a polyglot, speaking 7 languages fluently?
You speak so many languages. Which and which?
Well, I speak Hausa. I speak French. Of course, English. Bulgarian. Yoruba, that's my mother tongue. And Creole. Which is, and Pidgin. It's a different form of Pidgin.
Okay, Creole, that's...
Yeah, from Sierra Leone.
Hello and thanks for tuning in to Space and Style. I am Olamide Onifade, your host on the show that illuminates various issues surrounding real estate, architecture, interior design trends, and much more. Today we're going to be discussing how to estimate the cost of building a home. It is very important and you should never ever underestimate that fact. And in addition to that, we have an interior designer who will be giving us some design tips. And lastly, on the artisan spot, we have, as usual, an artisan discusses craftsmanship with us. Welcome to the show. But before we go into the main part of the discussion, please stay tuned. We're going to come back in a moment. Thank you for staying with us. I am joined in the studio by architect Ladi Luis, a chartered architect and the principal partner of ASDEC ASC Design Consultants. He was the chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, the Lagos State chapter. He has designed and supervised over 50 projects and still counting. 50 projects. And as I said before the break, he's going to be educating us on how to estimate the cost of building a home. Thank you very much for coming again.
Thank you very much.
Do you know you were the first guest on this show? And you know, so you're my go-to person. Yes. I said, no, I have to call her. And your swiftness, you answered me and said, I'll be there. So I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Such a short notice, and you're still here. So to going into the main discussion, where do I start from when I want to build a home?
I think first and foremost, you need to start with a vision of what you want, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. That will determine the first steps you take. What kind of a building you want? And there are so many options. Do you want a bungalow? Do you want a block of flats? Do you want a standalone building? Do you want a building that you live in also earns you money as well? So you have a lettable space in it? Do you want a mixed-use building, something you live and work with? You work in? So the varieties are there. Are you
Okay.
want to be part of a community? Or
Okay.
you want to be...
But
So
what should inform that decision? Because, I'm sorry, I could want to live in a flat, but indeed, I should be living in a duplex. Or I might want to live in a bungalow, but indeed my lifestyle. So how do I determine what is suitable for my lifestyle?
I would say, like, you determine how you choose a car.
Mm.
It depends on what you want. So you might look at where you're living currently. Does it meet your needs? Is that something you are looking at, or you've seen something else that fits your needs? I once designed a house for someone who had just had back surgery, and we had to tailor the design to fit into his inability to use steps and walk upstairs, and be able to circulate around the space comfortably. I've had to do a bathroom for someone who is elderly, almost reaching the age of 80, and we had to take out all the existing bathtubs and make it a walk-in shower. And then make it sizable that if he lives up to another 10 years and he has to use a wheelchair, the space still works adequately. So these are extreme situations, but there are also situations where you need to look at your career. How much do I earn today? How long is my working career life going to be in relation to my building? How many children are going to be part of the household? Do I have relatives living with me? A lot of questions need to be asked before a decision is taken. And most people don't realize that you spend more money building a house than anything else. In fact,
I didn't get that.
If you look at a house now, on average, you see people buying flats for 35 million and above. If you are spending $1 million a year, you will take care of some people from childhood to they're 35 years old with $1 million a year. So you see that your investment in buildings is actually much more than anything else.
It's probably the largest you ever do in your lifetime.
Your lifetime. That's the truth. So you need to do it well that it becomes a lasting investment.
Not where you live and in another 5 years you realize you have to move.
Yes. Or you have to pull down the building. And it's a source of worry for me today that you see some buildings, they don't last up to 20 years and they have to pull them down. And some of them are personally designed houses for clients who say, this is the kind of house I want to build. They're ready to spend as much money on it. But the building is dated. It's limited to its use that any new person picking it up 10 years after probably will pull it down or, just turn it into a carcass and then remodel again. We are losing a lot of investment put into building materials. We are turning it to dust within a short period. So if you're going to do a house, make sure it's something that can last you your lifetime or you can hand over to others. And I always tell people, design what you can dispose of. That's another problem. Yes, you could need to convert your building to cash. If you build something that is not marketable, it's limited to just you and you alone.
Probably you have money at that time in your lifetime, and you decide to build a mansion of 10-bedroom apartment, 4 living rooms, 3 kitchens, 20 bathrooms, and you want to sell. At some point, you have a problem because this is life. Life can happen.
Yes.
It's going to be very difficult
to
sell that kind of property. But at the same time, if I have the money, I want to enjoy my life.
Well,
it is just one life.
Well, that's why some people would invest in things that others don't consider important, but they can afford to do it.
Okay.
But if you're starting off, you're a first home buyer.
Okay.
You need to be very careful. If you're a second, third home, fourth home buyer, you can be flexible, you can afford to play around with what you have. But you're a first home buyer, you get to look at things that you know you can hand over to the next generation.
So what's the role of location? Because I ask people, specialists like you, what should you be considering when you want to buy a property? And they say 3 things. And I say, what's the 3 things?
Yes.
Location. Okay.
Let me tell you, one of the most important things here in Nigeria, in Lagos, is accessibility. if you can access your building, why are you living there? So the roads are not good. You know, you can't drive your car there. It's a problem. But I've heard of people who would live in a place where they have to park some hundreds of meters away and then walk on stones to get to their house.
I went to a property. Somebody asked me to come and see a property, wanted to dispose of it, so I'm the lawyer in charge. And I went to the property, and you won't believe, on a 200 square meters, he put 2 semi-detached property building on it, 200 square meters.
Wow.
In fact, there's no parking, and both have been bought.
Well, you see,
but the location is right.
Yes, you see, when people require spaces or require accommodation, if the location is right, they will live with the limitations. Some of the smallest houses you have are in Tokyo, and there are some on slim silver pieces of land, maybe just 5 meters wide, 6 meters wide, and they put a terrace house in it.
In Tokyo?
Yes.
I thought it was Nigeria.
They're very common in Tokyo, building very small apartments.
Why? Is it because they don't
Because
have...
the land space is limited and is expensive. And Tokyo is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. You also have such buildings in New York as well. And you know, the popular brownstone in New York can have almost 4 or 5 floors on just a width of about 6-8 meters.
It all boils down to location. Location.
Now, I have talked about Lagos because we're all vehicular-minded in Lagos. That's one.
But that was foisted or not?
Yes.
We don't have options.
Then next is security. You don't want to live where you are not safe. And I've seen people build houses and not be able to live there. Some people build houses, the streets are flooded, they can't drive to their residences, they abandon it.
Okay, just to cut you, there's this area, I won't mention it, because I don't want anybody to come and flood my timeline. There's this particular area, at a point, people were moving there, building houses, and they live, and most of them work in the other side of, Lagos. Yes. And in recent times, you know what I see?
Yes.
They abandon the homes and come to Lagos to rent what's it called, the 1-bedroom apartment.
There is that trend.
What's the essence?
You see, I think people had this perception that, I need to live in a big house on my own. So I know someone who lived way, way, way out of town, and he had a driver then, so he would have to drive from that part of town to Lagos Island every morning and back in traffic. Now, a lot of what they're doing now is that, let me give an example. He was living somewhere around Ichibu, and he was working in Marina. So you can see the distance. Now, he's built the house, and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's attached to it.
It's attached to it. But what you discover that it's a nightmare, waking up in the morning to go to work, and then closing in the evening. And I see some people who live in Ikorodu who have to leave around 4 a.m. They'll probably get to Ikoyi maybe around 5, and then they sleep in the office till 8. It's become a lifestyle. Some do it from the Ekpe axis to Ikoyi or VI.
But I would even take it. No, but that Ekpe axis too. I was going to say that's an option.
But then see what's happening. Ebitebete now is becoming like a hostel for workers working in the island. So you see 2-bedroom apartments. You get 2-bedroom apartments being built all over the place in very tight sites. Overdeveloped, but those who live in it just want to take it for just Monday to Friday.
Okay, so what other areas should you be considering?
You should consider...
To amount to the total cost.
Yeah, you should look at traveling distances. There is what we call transit-oriented development, which is not something we develop here in Nigeria, where when you build, you look at the mass transportation or mode of transportation required. So you develop based on the accessibility to urban transportation. So any building near a bus stop has higher value than one further away from it. So when you look at apartments online in the UK, sometimes we give you a distance to the nearest bus stop.
Oh, definitely. Even to
schools. Distance to nearest schools, hospitals, train stations, and all that. So that you use as a parameter for choosing a location. And those locations are much more expensive. In fact, in every part of design, you analyze location. So even in a shopping mall, the shops close to the entrance and close to the escalators and lifts.
Or even the ones on the ground floor.
Yes, attract a higher rent. You know, if you're at a corner that people have to traverse, it attracts a higher rent. So it's the same thing with a property. You know, and then what I tell people is this: you need to plan ahead. A building takes 1, 2, 3 years to put up, but it lasts decades. So do your planning well, do your analysis well. It's not something you rush into, because once you converted the money into solid brick and mortar,
it's very difficult to convert it back.
You can't take it apart. You can't move it. So you need to plan it well. So look at your plan based on a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year rolling plan. Is it a building I'm going to use for this time period? Then I dispose of it or I let it out. It brings passive income to me. Then I invest in something else. Or is this something I want to keep for a lifetime? So it's that planning that determines what you should do.
So for who determines the cost of the building at inception? Okay, you would say you're an architect, but
no,
quantity surveyors would say
I would say it's the
within
client. He has the budget. He knows how much he wants to spend. We're just going to tell him how he's going to spend it, how best to spend it, and what he'll get for it.
So what helps me to determine my budget?
Now, let me give an example. If you were in a mortgage economy, that will be determined for you based on your income. Because the bank is going to tell you how much do you earn. This is a percentage of income that you can put aside to pay your mortgage. So that's going to limit you already. But in Nigeria, we don't have that kind of restrictive systems that will guide us. So it's left to us making a decision as a client would. So a client would say, I like this kind of house.
Okay, so that brings me to this question. You see all over Lagos, you see abandoned buildings. Yes. Halfway, 5 years, yes. 10 years. Yes. Then the the property owner will return to it. What is the safety concern for properties like that?
Once you leave a building exposed to the weather, a lot of deterioration will take place. So now it depends on the extent of deterioration. In fact, a building becomes safe when you close it up. So you don't have water and moisture coming to the building. Because once you leave anything to water, water destroys it. Water will soak into concrete, corrode the reinforcement. The reinforcement will rust and exfoliate and cause the concrete to break to pieces. So you see cracks coming up. That can occur.
So do you think there should be regulation regarding that?
There
should be a timeline of when you must complete
you must close up a building. If you close it up, it's closed up and moisture and water doesn't get in, you can protect a building. It's roofed, it's covered. But once it's exposed, you see some of them with algae growing on the blockwork, and the blockwork starts to deteriorate. The plaster starts to spoil off, exposing other parts of the building. Water gets into the electrical conduit pipes, rats and other insects and rodents start, boring holes in different parts or chewing things. You are going to get a lot of deterioration. So that time frame is important, that you close up a building and you protect it. And you see, that's why you have to have a budget. So the budget, it depends on your savings, your source of income.
What about anticipated income? You might anticipate that, okay, take for instance, this building will cost me so amount of money, but in 2 years' time, I should have been able to make such money. And on the strength of that, you begin to build.
That's why you should also look at working with a professional. You can now phase your development, which is another aspect of development. We have what they call, phase development. So partial occupation can occur. So you're planning a building, you can decide to build it in phases, rather than focus on trying to finish the entire thing all at once.
And it would be habitual. You can
yes,
have it to be habitable.
Yes. So you can design based on that. You can actually do a foundation, cover part of it, build a part of it. Foundation is still underground anyway, so we have a methodology of protecting it. So you simply build it in concrete, you can add a waterproof additive, you protect it. You can landscape over it, and then you open it up and continue your building much later. But you see, the planning has to be put in place. If you are expecting money, they tell you don't spend money.
You don't have.
So I think a lot of it has to do with, working with a professional who can guide you through the process. I give this example. You could start a house off and say, look, I can't afford expensive finishes, so I'm going to have a bare concrete floor. So the concrete floor is done polished, and you wax it, and you move into it. You plaster your walls, and you paint.
So what kind of design would you suggest that, what kind of designs are affordable?
Any design can be affordable. A lot of it will depend on, first, your budget. Now, I would not advise a client.
Somebody had told me about the shape of the land.
Well, yes.
Is it also a factor?
It can affect your costs, but not as significant as not planning well. I'll give you an example. If you want to build cheap, you're not going to go to a place where your foundations are going to be expensive. And it's a no-no already. Yes, the land will be cheap, but the foundation will be expensive. I've had a case where we did a geotechnical analysis of a site, and the result that came out was that we're going to do piles going 28 meters into the ground. Jesus. And they have to be 600 mm diameter.
And what's the cost of the land?
For a terrace unit there, it would cost close to about 10-12 million for just the piling alone. Now, you see, that is going to be a limiting factor. Now, if we did a bungalow, we would have to, we also work at doing some piling there too as well, because the soil is so bad.
So are you suggesting?
You have to sand fill. So when buying as well, to affect what will affect your budget, you've got to do all those analysis.
So I was going to say that. So are you suggesting that before you as an individual buy a piece of land, yes, you should do the soil test?
You should actually ask questions about the area. So you will get to know generally what the topography, the soil conditions there before you go and buy. Well, before you build, you need to do a geotechnical test before you put anything physical on top of the land. Like if you generally ask anybody in Lagos now and you visit the place with a professional, they will look at the buildings. They will ask questions. What was used to build this building? What was required? There are things you can find out. So at least you have a general knowledge of what you're getting into. I've had a case where somebody bought a piece of land. By the time he was going to build it, it's called that he couldn't afford it. He sold the land because the foundations were going to be expensive. And he didn't feel that, look, he could sustain the expenditure. So he sold it and moved on.
So that's it. So the terrain of the land is a big consideration in estimating the cost.
There might even be land that is solid, but has a differential in level that will require concrete retaining walls, which are also going to be expensive.
How do you determine that at the inception?
It's only a professional that can do that for you.
So if I'm going to build a property,
buy even a plot.
Do
an inspection.
So what is your advice?
What should I do?
So I don't fall into all of these traps.
Like there is what we call the stage 0 in the plan of work when working with projects. That's when you don't even know what you want to do, and you're just talking to professionals. So you can do that.
Who should be my first person? Should it be the first person I'm calling?
Well,
an architect. I know you say.
Well, I would say an architect, but I also say an experienced person in construction.
Who could that be?
Could be anybody. Could be a builder. Could be a structural engineer. Could be a quantity surveyor. Could be anybody experienced. At least that you should have friends who you can talk to. That's stage 0. It doesn't mean you have to engage somebody.
Okay.
But people you can talk to, you can run ideas with, ask questions. It's the person that doesn't ask questions always gets lost. You go along the road and you really don't want to ask anybody and you keep on moving.
But in Lagos, you get lost.
At least if you ask for somebody who knows.
No, you know what? When I want to ask people for directions, once I stop the car and wind down, Oga, please, if he repeats the name of that area. He doesn't know it. I just.
Of course, you know that he doesn't.
Once he repeats it, you say you are going to Adade Lola. But unfortunately, we have run out of time. So I'm so thankful that you came on a very short notice, and I hope you come in again for the topic you just discussed. Well, you're still watching Space and Style. We have to go on a short break. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you for staying with us, and you're still watching Space and Style. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the discussion with our guest, architect Ladi Lewis. And trust me, whenever you're in the studio with him, you never want the conversation to come to an end. And I hope you've gotten a broader view of what to do when next you want to acquire a property. Coming up next is the design segment with Maureen Akike, a sales representative from ProBlind.
Hello, this is Marianne from ProBlind. I would like to welcome you to our stand that we are exhibiting in. Let me introduce the various products that we have and every person can benefit from because it's very useful and we all need it on our daily basis. We can start with the curtains. You can have different kind of curtains, sheer, main fabric or blinds. Both can be either motorized or manual. Okay, and they are suitable for houses, offices and many other places. Of course, we'll advise you to go for a blackout when it comes to conference room or to your bedrooms. Okay, this is our main part at ProBlind. Then we also do rugs. As you can see behind me, we have normal rugs that you can pick up and you can use in your house or in your office. And plus we have those custom-made rugs where you can choose any color you want, any size, and any drawing, okay? And we just do it for you as per your request. We also have other products that we are in, wallpaper, upholstery, and many other things. We can also give you a lot of advices on colors and on what to use. And our latest line is beddings. When we say beddings, we say duvet, we say pillow, we say bed sets, and many, many other things. Thank you for visiting ProBlind and well done.
Thank you, Maureen. And to end the show this week is the Artisan Spot.
Space and style.
Majority of these boards are imported because they are not made in Nigeria. We don't have that kind of factory yet to make those boards. So majority of those MDF, HDF boards, they are imported. Then we can cut it, then put it into different shapes that we want. Actually, one thing is that there is a kind of perspective we have as Nigerians that we believe the white people can actually do it better than us. But with this, we have the cutting machine, we have the taping machine. There is nothing different because actually the boards that we cut here are imported from those countries, and majority of those countries now they are coming to Nigeria already to make furniture for us here. So there is no big difference. Yeah, it's ideal that you learn it because if you don't learn it and you just enter into the industry, there are so many things that you will not really understand about the industry. Now, what we do here, we cut and tape here. They can actually do it manually also. So, but if you actually go to a school like a furniture making school or something like that, yes, you have a better idea and a better perspective about the whole thing.
Space and style.
We have come to the end of the show this week again. My name still remains Olamide Onifade, and I must thank you for watching. Until I see you again next week, this is Space and Style.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Good evening to you. I am Justin Akadoni, and this is the news update on Plus TV Africa. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it will conduct supplementary elections in Doguwa Tundunwadal Federal Constituency of Kano State. This decision comes after the returning officer for the federal constituency elections held on February the 25, Ibrahim Yakasai, reviewed the result of the elections held in the area. Yakasai said the commission had reviewed the initial results and were allegedly announced by him on the duress. He stated that the reviewed election results stands as follows: APC 39,732, NNPP 34,798, and the PDP 7,091. He also explained that there were cancellation of results in 13 polling units. Meantime, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says he will be heading to court to challenge INEC's refusal to allow the party to inspect materials used during the presidential election. Now, the Court of Appeal had granted leave to Obi to have access to all of the sensitive materials used by INEC. Meanwhile, a chieftain of the Labour Party in Imo State, Professor Protas Uzoma, has urged Nigerians not to lose confidence in the judiciary. Professor Uzoma said the judiciary would clearly obtain the presidential election results in favor of the Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi. He called on INEC to redeem its image by conducting the forthcoming governorship and state houses of assembly elections without irregularities.
There is a provision for lacuna, and lacuna can be created for legal interpretation. And so I do not want to bother myself much about the time the amended act, electoral amended act, because I know certainly that judiciary would like to be very transparent in this case. See, we are not looking for judgment. Nigerians are looking for justice. What we're seeking for is justice and not judgment. Judiciary have been giving judgment, and Nigerians have been going away with that. But judiciary know at this point in time that they are the hope of the common man.
Now, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has inaugurated a legal team to challenge the outcome of the February 28 or 25 presidential election. The former vice president briefed the team at his campaign headquarters in Abuja today. He mandated them to establish the claim of illegality in the election and reclaim the mandate of the Nigerian people. The team, which is headed by J.K. Ganzaba, comprises 19 senior advocates of Nigeria. Well, back here in Lagos, the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has reassured traders in Igbo-dominated market of peaceful coexistence and their security if re-elected. Sanwo-Olu's campaign tour moved to the Auto Spare Part and Machinery Dealers Association, ASPAMDA, at the Trade Fair Complex in Ojo. He also met with an amalgamation of Igbo traders across 58 major markets under the aegis of the Ndiwa Amaka Progressive Markets Association. The governor also interacted with the traders at the Computer Village in Ikeja. Now, pregnant women and nursing mothers have endorsed the second-term bid of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, saying that he deserves to be re-elected on account of his contributions towards ensuring the comfort of women. The women who spoke at the 4th edition of the Mother, Infant and Child Development MICH, the initiative of the Lagos State government, lauded Sanwo-Olu for instituting and sustaining the program, noting that it has helped ensure mother and child security from conception to birth to adolescence and into adulthood. Special Advisor, Office of Civic Engagement, Princess Aderemi Adebowale, said the MICH program was organized to provide 570 indigent pregnant women across the primary health care centers in the state with food packs that would help proper brain development of the fetus for 24 weeks.
We told them they are coming to endorse the governor for second time. They were very happy to come. You could see the one speaking in Hausa, in Igbo, in Yoruba. They are happy because they want this program to continue. So the program when in Lagos State have endorsed Mr. Governor Sanwo-Olu today for second time because they want this food pack, this program to continue for other pregnant women that will be coming behind them. This March 11th, I have to campaign for my governor because he's doing so wonderfully well in the state. He's doing so well thinking about we women, thinking about children, thinking about child yet unborn, thinking about the future of this state. I'm going to advise that on March 11th, go out, all women in Lagos State, vote Governor Sanwo-Olu for second time so that this laudable work that he's doing can continue.
He's the father of all our children. He's the #1 security officer of the state. And he's to ensure that we all have access to good food, good health, good education, and good opportunities. As long as you are with us here in Lagos, we consider you to be Lagosians, and you therefore can benefit from the welfare. By contributing to the state, you are driving our economy for us, and that is what we're looking for: peace, economic development, and a good life, having the opportunity to have lovely children as we can see in this room.
These things that we have seen, all these that have been prepared for you pregnant mothers, this is just the beginning. Governor Sanwo-Olu was here yesterday, and he has promised beyond all of this that beyond May 29, after you voted in, for the next time, come March 11th, this Saturday, you're going to be seeing more and more and more and more of this.
Moving on now to Ogun State, where the chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Sunday Ogini, has debunked the report of forming an alliance with the People's Democratic Party ahead of Saturday's governorship and assembly elections. Ogini stated this during a stakeholders meeting at the party's secretariat, saying that the party's mission is to win the elections. These followed a recent report that the chairman and some of the assembly candidates of the NNPP have declared support for the PDP in Ogun State. He, however, maintained that the NNPP is open to working with other political parties that believe in the mandate of the party through collective effort. Speaking at the event, the governorship candidate of the party, Olufemi Ajadi, maintained that he remains the party's candidate.
We are going to liaise and work with other political parties that believe in New Ogun State, that believe that New Ogun State is possible. And we are going to make that one possible through collective responsibility of all political leaders. I also want to say this, that this party will not condone any form of indiscipline from any members, and that anybody that try as much as possible to go above the board and violated the constitution of our dear party shall be dealt with according to the constitution of our party.
Ajadi is not stepping down for any political candidate. I want to tell you that Ajadi is a young, vibrant among all the contenders. Ajadi is the only young candidate among all of them. But they have seen the glory, the stars of Ajadi, and that is why they are parabolating to make use of my stars and tell the public that our party has stepped down to endorse another party, which is a typical lie. I'm assuring you today that by the grace of God and with your support, we are taking over. And NPP is taking over.
And now from Taraba State, the Independent National Electoral Commission has cleared the All Progressives Congress candidate, Senator Emmanuel Bacha, for Saturday's governorship poll. INEC made the clarification at the Federal High Court Jalingo in APC's case, seeking the inclusion of its candidate in the portal and ballot paper ahead of the polls. Meanwhile, a constitutional lawyer, Dan Ardi, has cautioned against working against the Supreme Court verdict, which nullified the APC primaries that produced Senator Bacha.
INEC graciously has considered that they never at any time delisted the name of the candidate of the All Progressive Congress from their cyber. So the point at which we are now is preemptive to ensure that INEC does not do anything that violates the provision of the Electoral Act.
The judgment upon which APC is basing its claim that it conducted the fresh primaries was the judgment given in the appeal filed by Chief David Sabo Kente in the Supreme Court. So there was the need for us to come and show the Honorable Court that it was just a mere attempt to mislead the court into overruling the judgment of the Supreme Court, which is very wrong, pathetically wrong. And that we have done. We have moved our application, and we have also opposed the suit on the merit.
Moving outside the continent now, thousands of striking transport workers, students and teachers have started rallying in central Athens to protest Greece's deadliest train disaster on record. The crash on February the 28th killed 57 people and has stirred public outrage over the crumbling state of the rail network. The striking workers say years of neglect, underinvestment and understaffing, a legacy of Greece's decade-long debt crisis, are to blame. Now, the disaster has led to protests across Greece, with more than 10,000 people rallying in Athens on Sunday. In business news now, telecom operators say they have started the implementation of harmonized short codes across networks pursuant to a regulatory modernization initiative of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC. The Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators of Nigeria, AUTON, said the harmonization of short codes is aimed at implementing a streamlined process for common short codes across the country by making life easier for Nigerians. The Commission said it has provided adequate time for subscribers to get used to this new development. Now, AUTON said during migration, which is to be concluded on May the 17th, old and new common codes will run concurrently, after which the old code would cease to operate. The harmonization of short codes entails making the common short codes utilized by customers to be uniform across networks. In entertainment news now, the Asheman brutality caused by some military men on civilians in Asheman has reached a stern boy. Reacting to the news, the Ghanaian dancehall star has condemned the act he has described as lawlessness. In sports news, now Taylor Fritz and Aryna Sabalenka rose to the top of the fast-paced tie-break tennis event at Indian Wells, winning the Rapid Antar Cup at the Indian Wells Tennis Garden on Wednesday. Now, Fritz and Sabalenka were too strong for Iga Swiatek and Hubert Hurkacz, beating them 10-8 in the final in front of more than 5,000 fans. The Eisenhower Cup field included 14 players who are or have been ranked in the top 10 and was the first of the 11 tie-break tennis events. And that's the news update. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. You can also view us on Limex TV and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Justin Akadonye. Many thanks for watching.
It's been an unusual year for us all. We've been forced to learn to adapt to the changes that COVID-19 has brought upon us. However the cards may have been dealt to us this year, we have remained resilient. The Afrima Fashion Show stems from the Afrima Award Show, which is the biggest African award show in the diaspora. Every year, we have showcased designers and we bring together people from all over the world. This year, the Afrima Runway is graced by the top 3 African designers who have welcomed the challenge of doing a virtual runway show without any physical audience. Don Murphy, Ese Ezanabo, and lastly, Sai Sanko. Let the show begin.
Hi guys, my name is Sai Sankar and I am a luxury resort wear designer and I make the most amazing and fabulous kaftans and everything that you desire for traveling. I just really love the way women carried themselves back then, you know, the Marilyn Monroes, you know. It was sexy, but there was still glamour to it, you know, and elegance and sophistication. And I feel that's what my designs are about, you know. I've also been inspired just by my continent, the continent of Africa. Growing up in Sierra Leone, it's just this beautiful, bustling colors, you know, it's so vibrant, the marketplaces, you know, Christmas, it's just, everything about it is just so energetic and it's so powerful and colorful and it just makes me really happy. And so no matter what collection I do, it always goes back to that, and so that's why you see all this colorful prints and all these bold colors, you know. I feel women wearing it, it just makes them so extremely happy, you know, and they look absolutely gorgeous in it too.